Night and the Gemini crew. Ooh.
Oh yeah, people of the night.
Night into the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Night into the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Let's just talk about the world. Give this page another turn, 'cause you're here with us tonight. Everything's alright when you're here with Mike in the night. Mike in through the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Giving the world light when you're here with Mike in the night. Mike in through the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Sometimes things are just absurd, so let's just talk about the world, 'cause you're here with us tonight.
Oh, people of the night. Don't you know it?
Mike in through the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Mike in through the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Let's just talk about the world. Give this page another curl, 'cause you're here with us tonight.
I bid you all good morning, good evening, and good night, wherever you may be watching this transmission. Whether you're watching us from your condo in the sky, or your cabin or camper in the woods, or just couch surfing. Or maybe in your car on the road trip, or relaxing on your lazy boy. Well, stretch that puppy back. People of the night, welcome to Mike in the Night. It's 3 a.m. and something's moving you. Stretch back that lazy boy, guys. Crack open a window. Sit back, relax. Get some tea or coffee, or like some lemon water like I got here to wet the beak. And, voice of the Commonwealth. That's what people are calling me. And don't forget, guys, I'm broadcasting from an undisclosed area for Mike in the Night. Hope everyone's doing really well out there. Big shout outs to everybody in the comments. We got Dictator Dan, we got Ben Savage, we got Cameron, Steven Sewell, Mr. Wright, all kinds rolling in to the live discussion. So don't forget to join us on the live discussion if you want to be part of the show, or if you want to call in, you're more than welcome to, because it's 3 a.m. and something's moving you, and you're tuned in to Mike in the Night. I want to thank everyone that's come this week to visit me. I've had tons of people. This is my record week of people coming to visit me in person at my shop, and I'm flattered. I don't know what to say. Just when you think, you've reached a plateau of happiness, or you've reached a plateau of you think you've done it, or you think you've experienced it, or you think you've known it, or you think you've acknowledged it all, and it's starting, more comes in, more, and it's so loving, it's so caring, it's so blessing. It's such a blessing. So, Mike in the Night. So let's do a quick channel plug before we go over into news. We got lots going on all over the world, current affairs on Mike in the Night. So there is going to be a petition that's going to be coming up in the next couple of weeks to ban Canada from... Canada is going to be launching this thing that anyone that broadcasts or discusses any news topic online or anywhere and broadcasts it must have a license. So what that means is you guys can't see me anymore if I don't get licensed. But the problem is they need to approve the license, and they need to approve the fact, and they need to qualify me what I am talking about. And that is very dangerous. Very peligroso, muy peligroso. And when it's been out there, they've been talking about it now. The COVID thing kind of changed things a little bit. And the COVID kind of shook things up for a bit. It's been on the table. Liberal government wants to move in on it real quick and start basically shutting down anybody who is not licensed by the Canadian administration of whatever they want to call it to not be allowed to broadcast and be fined up to $2,500 per video. Android phone is I have a video hosting site I'm working on, Mike. You're welcome to upload to the platform. Okay, keep me posted. It's still a working process, of course. Yes, don't worry. And I'll promote it from this side if I have to. Bob Smithers got it right. That's called a dictatorship. If an undereducated, severely undereducated Portuguese can't come on and just have a discussion with his friends and have a few drinks and be here and talk with you guys, we're headed for a world of hurt. Because if the government or some sort of agencies feel threatened with my presence, we're in trouble. Because they shouldn't feel anything with my presence. They shouldn't care about me. They shouldn't care about us talking. About what? So we got people in the comments. Free speech is under attack. We got Stephen Williams in the house. Don't forget to check out his channel. I'll do him a plug right now. I hope conservatives are against the new media law. It's been something that's been in the works for a while now, actually. And it's now resurfacing. Remember how we talked about on this channel? First thing happens is this. They talk about something. Then it gets flagged down and gets shut down. Then they reintroduce it later on a few months. And then they do a couple of conversation pieces on some opinion pieces on the media. Then it disappears. Then it resurfaces. Then it gets put into law. And then they say, we told you about this. We've been talking about this for years. Why is this new news to you? And that's what I'm afraid of, people. That is what I'm afraid of. They're kind of rolling it in slowly. They keep re-looking at it, readdressing it, bringing it back, forget about it for a few months, come back at it, reapproach it, rediscuss it, and that's what's been happening. And that's what I'm afraid of. Afraid that we cannot have a discussion with each other. Yeah. And there's also talk in Australia that they're looking at banning Facebook and even YouTube. They're looking at actually banning, or they're telling basically what some Australian I guess, governing bodies are saying. I'm not sure who exactly. They're saying, YouTube, you better clean up your act or you won't be broadcasting in Australia. So Australia will create their own Australia Tube or Aussie Tube, right? That's accessible to the whole world, and it's just like YouTube, but it's broadcasting from Australia. But the problem is it's going to be fully regulated. And you know how I feel about regulation. I got an arm twitch in my arm. Right there for the arm twitch, right there. Low Roller Scratcher saying it's coming to the USA. Here's my prediction, Mike Martins. Mr. Wright is saying you could use my address and say it's my broadcast. We got Big Rob New Zealand saying we got 3,000 people in protest in Auckland yesterday. That's good. Yeah, Steven, I'll get you on the show in a few minutes. I'm going to just make a... Steven's asking if he's still on. I want to get Steven back on to pick his brain on what's happening. Quick plug, Steve. Quick plug. You don't have to stay on for long. Just a few minutes. Just let us know what you think of COVID, what's going on, where things are headed, what is happening on the eastern part of the peninsula there. So, okay, let's go to a quick channel plug here, guys. Let's go to Article Scan. Guys, don't forget to set your reminders for the channel. Don't forget to set your, right here, set your reminders. We got 112 people watching now. As things warm up through the night, people of the night, Mike in the night. Don't forget to buy something on Teespring if you guys want to buy a Mike in the Night mug. Thank you for everyone that's been buying them for me. And man, I'm getting a lot of messages here. And yeah. And this is my Facebook. I have, listen to this, guys. I have 115,000 people that follow me on Facebook. 115,000. And Facebook does not want me to be a public figure because I am not credible enough. So there's my Facebook, guys, right there. And I'm going to give you guys my Instagram. I've been on Instagram for a year now. So Cameron's asking if I have any callers in Greece. No, you want to call in? You'd let me know. You call in. You be our eyes on the ground down in Greece. Jada Mills, don't forget to check him out in his new reggae song. His new release launched 3 weeks ago. Don't forget to check out Jada Mills. We got the Lost Canuck. There's his channel right there. If people have been asking for the Lost Canuck channel, there it is right there. Nobody panic. He's in existence. Here he is, the Lost Canuck. Guys, don't forget to check out Rafi Co. New Zealand. He puts up videos of us here and clips of the show. I really appreciate that. Ralphie Co. New Zealand. Maneko64. Woo! Don't forget to check him out. Maneko64 is really good. He's a really good guy when it comes to understanding gold, silver, the devaluation of the dollar, the whole 9 yards. And T-Square Talk. I haven't talked to him in a while. Maybe I'm gonna give him a call in a couple of days, see how he's doing. T-Square, don't forget the T-Square Talk. And the Machronicle. We need to have a huge petition. We need a good march down Yonge Street or something in Toronto, so we could get the Machronicle back up and running. His people need him. Oh yeah, it's Mike in the night. So let's get into some important news here. We got some very important news. So let's go. Oregon fires. Oregon wildfires melt vehicles, blacken driveways. Holy crap. All right, let's get our man Mitch. Where is he? I hope he's awake. Mitch, I hope you're awake, buddy, because we're in Oregon and we're calling you right now to find out what the heck is going on. Holy.
Hey, Mike.
Mitch, what's up, buddy?
Oh, all kinds of stuff. My God, it's this 2020 is just an unbelievable year.
Well, 2020 is turning into the. I mean, well, here's September, so you're in Oregon. What's going on, Mitch? Are you okay?
Yeah. Other than the bad air and the ash falling all over the place, even right down, not just on the coast, but all the way out into the Pacific, because we had 2 days of offshore flow from east to west. So all the smoke from all the major fires from all the way from the California border all the way up to the Washington border, just about, there's fires going on, and all that smoke got pushed out over the Pacific from the unusually rare 2-day offshore flow from east to west. It flows out over the ocean. No, the normal flow is onshore because of the way that the Earth rotates. But usually 1 or 2 days a year we get an offshore flow, and it just happened to be right in the middle of this big fire event, this catastrophic once-in-a-lifetime fire event that's been occurring. You've probably seen the pictures of San Francisco, all lit up red and as smoggy as all get up. Well, we had that here, even on the Oregon coast, for 2 days, and the temperature has dropped, and there's a slight onshore now, but we still are covered in smoke here, a very thick smoke.
Wow. I'm looking at some classic. It looks like a classic Mustang in one of the garages there. Burnt to a crisp. Oh my God. It looks like a 67, 68 Mustang. Chrome bumper. Yeah, I'm just looking at the images here. I'm just having the images playing as you're talking to me and discussing what's happening. So they are blaming, so we got people commenting on saying they're blaming it on climate change. You know they're going to blame anything and everything on climate change. You know that, right?
Yes, I've been looking into that and thinking about all the different reasons that fires start, and I think that there is climate change. The cause of it is uncertain. There's no science that can absolutely prove that it's man-made or natural, because climate is always changing. but I don't think that that's the primary reason. We're like California, for example. They've got the worst fire season, just like Oregon, that they've ever had, with over 3 million acres burned already, and it's still going strong. California, 50 years ago, 1970, California had 20 million people. Now they have 40 million people. Now that 20 million population, now 40 million is the size of Canada, or bigger than Canada or Australia, just in California. And that California, I grew up in California. I'm a native of California. My father was a fireman in California. I know quite a bit. When I was a kid, I used to watch my dad and other firemen do control burns in the early summer, where they would burn, actually intentionally burn grasslands that were susceptible to spontaneously igniting, or somebody flipping a cigarette out or whatever, and starting a grass fire, and then it heading towards where people live. And they would actually intentionally burn these areas for safety purposes. And I can remember
the brush. They burn, like in my province of British Columbia, they used to go in and they used to burn the brush every 5 to 6 years, and dry brush, all kinds of weird brush that would just form and just start, and it actually regrows fresh. Things start regrowing fresh and stuff. So they cut back on that, and they actually cut back on that in Australia too. And I don't know if they cut back on that dry brush burning in California, but I know in Canada they've not funded it at all anymore, and in Australia they stopped doing it too. And then Australia got this weird fire last year, and it pretty much ravaged a good portion of the country.
Yeah, last year was a terrible fire season for Australia. Now, when you do these controlled burns, you're burning maybe several years of buildup of dead grass, because the grass down there in Northern California, anyway, where I grew up, would have a tendency to grow up like oats and different things, like 3 feet high in the spring, and then it would turn golden brown. And it just took a little spark to start that big ignition. Well, then it would die off, and the new grass would come up in the winter and spring, and then year after year, you'd have all this fuel built up, kind of like sod or turf built up. And then when you get a fire there, when it hasn't been burnt off, it's extra hot, and if you get the winds along with it, and it's very low humidity, you can't outrun it. It can travel so fast. And then
I'm looking at the aluminum running down these hills here, the melted aluminum. Holy crap.
Super hot. And a lot of these subdivisions in California have been built like urban or subdivisions in the more rural or suburb areas. They've been built out into the hills and areas that have been historically notorious for wildfires. Mm-hmm. And that's part of there's a little bit of responsibility. Some is started by arson, some is from accidents or neglect, some is from lightning. Some there's enough people can argue.
Or is it purposely set?
I am sure that some of them have been intentionally set. Some have been from neglect, and some have been just natural. So it just happens to be that California's been in a drought since about 2012. For about 8 years, they've been in a drought. And in the normal year, farmers down in the valleys there, where they do most of the big growing, rely on groundwater for about 30% of their farming. The rest comes from the aqueducts that comes down from the Sacramento River Delta. And in the Southern California, the Colorado River, which starts in the Rocky Mountains about 10,000 feet, runs around 7 states, runs through the Grand Canyon, and comes down on the California-Arizona border. There's a lot of farmers that use that water too, but basically groundwater and snowpack melt and 20 big, massive reservoirs that were developed in the late 30s, early 40s that feed the water system throughout California. And because they've been in a drought, they can't rely on groundwater that much. And the ground is dry. All the trees and shrubs and brush, everything is just bone dry. And then because I guess they haven't done much control burning, and maintenance in that way because of environmental concerns. There's also just a buildup of fuel, and then you get the hot, dry weather in Southern California. You get those strong Santa Ana winds, and they can blow a fire. Just unbelievable how fast a fire can burn once it gets started.
Yeah, some of them travel at anywhere from 18 to 25 miles per hour.
Yeah, well, that's faster than a man can run.
Yeah, I've seen them. I've seen them. People are commenting that the fires get put out once they get to Canada, and there's no fires in Canada. No, this year we were lucky. We only had about 130 fires here in where I am here in British Columbia. It was, I think 3 or 4 years ago, or 3 years ago, we had close to 700 fires, and you couldn't see 10 feet in front of you. So, I mean, it happens everywhere. I mean, it happens, and it's tragic. It's absolutely tragic. But what breaks my heart more than anything, Mitch, is when it's purposely put, or when someone goes out there out of their way to prove a point, or they're mad at everybody and whatever, and they want to blame the baby boomers or the millennials or whatever, and then all crap like this hell breaks loose. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Well, there. I just noticed there was one arrest from one of the deadly fires. I think in Southern Oregon. There was an arrest of a guy that apparently they believe they've got the right guy who started a fire that ended up being one of the biggest fires in Oregon history, and it's still burning. So this was a suspect of arson. By the way, Mike, we have a lot of serious content to talk about tonight, but I just wanted to tell you and your audience a little tiny story that I thought was kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. Today, I dropped off a Christmas box to ship to the Philippines at the local agent. And her mother and father were all there, and they're from the smallest province in the Philippines, which is north of Luzon, a little tiny set of islands. And they live on an island called Bataan, not Bataan, but Bataan. Okay. And the big town there is Bosco. It's the smallest province in the Philippines. Only 17,000 inhabitants live there. You may have seen a picture of the native people there, the Ivatans, that have these grass hats that they wear, real long grass, and grass capes. Anyway, she told me, I said, what do they call Mama and Papa in Ivatan? And she says, we call Papa Mama. And I said, say that again? And she said, no. She said, we call her Papa Mama. And I said, well, what do you call your mama? And she said, Nana. And I said, so you call Papa Mama in Ivatan. That's their language. Mm-hmm. And it's 100 miles north of Luzon. It's the furthest northern province of the Philippines, and only 120 miles south of Taiwan, but it's Philippines.
Right.
But anyway, I just thought that was funny that they call Papa Mama in their language.
Cool. All right, Mitch, thank you. Thank you so much for the story. Thanks for the update. And we're going to move on with some other parts of the world. Okay, buddy?
Okay, look forward to the show. Bye,
God bless
everyone.
You.
You too.
Bye. Guys, that is Mitch Madden out of Oregon giving us an insight on what's happening with this crazy burning in Oregon. Wow. So here it is. Oregon governor says dozens missing and hundreds of firefighters battle deadly wildfires. Oregon wildfire forces mass evacuations. Trump to tour scorched California. So Trump, I guess, is on his way there to check out the thing. So, okay, again, with this Australia thing is really throwing me for a curveball. Victoria police arrest 14 people at illegal anti-lockdown protest in Melbourne. 51 fines issued for breaching stay-at-home orders. Multi-billion-dollar coronavirus lifeline for Victorian business announced as Melbourne lockdown relaxed from midnight. Victoria's COVID single-person bubble begins, and it's complicated for some singles in lockdown. Is Victoria on planet Earth? Like, is this on Mars? Is this on another planet? What the heck is going on? Everywhere I go, everything's open, everything's normal. People are going by their day. The kids are at school. There's no, like, is Victoria part of planet Earth? Anyways, let's get someone on the phone from there. I'm going to get my man here, Steven, to find out what the hell is going on in Victoria there in the state of Melbourne.
person whom you're trying to reach...
Oh, he's not picking up. He is not picking up. Oh, no. Let's see if he picks up now. Pick up, Steve. We need to know if you're not arrested.
No,
Steve, are you in jail?
and it's all good. I'm not in jail. It's fine.
You're doing fine. Okay, listen. So what the heck is going on? Is Melbourne, aka the state of Victoria, is it on Earth? Because we have a completely different outcome of what's happening here in Canada. And when we look at what's happening to you guys and they're arresting people for anti-illegal lockdown protests, it makes me wonder if it's on another planet.
Well, yes, that's right. Because at the Queen Victoria Market about an hour ago, which is about an hour away from where I am, there was a massive protest, which was violent.
So 14 people have been arrested? 51 fines issued?
Yes, that's right.
So what are they? Hi, we're going to be charging you for leaving your house? So...
Well, leaving your house, protesting against the law, protesting against breathing, all sorts of things.
Okay, I have a picture here I'm going to show everybody. It's an image. Looks like it's from somebody's... here it is. So there's... it looks like it's police, but they're very militarized, heavily militarized. They got shin guards. They got baton. They got a taser. They got a camera. They got... It looks like it's for another sidearm. They got a sidearm. And some of them are using, looks like anti-aircraft guns.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, all for kids.
It's all for...
It's ridiculous. It's very overblown.
So, okay. You are still in lockdown.
Yes, correct.
Have they given a mandate? You said 2 weeks? 2 weeks ago?
They've extended it by 2 weeks from tomorrow for another 2 weeks.
I told you this is going to go for 24 months.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so, okay, let's go over some of the articles. I kind of want to discuss this with you here real quick. We got multi-billion-dollar COVID lifeline for Victorian business announced. What the heck is going on with that?
Well, it's been announced today that the state government of Victoria is spending $3 billion. The problem is we don't quite know yet who gets what and why.
Just what?
Yeah, exactly. We don't understand who is going to receive what and why yet.
Oh, so there's no what and why.
details.
Okay, I get that. Okay,
Yes.
so as Melbourne lockdown is relaxed for midnight. Okay, so Victorian COVID single person bubble. What the hell is a single person bubble?
Congratulations.
I don't know, to be honest, because it doesn't make sense. Basically, to try and explain it in very basic terms, what they're saying is if you're in your home on your own, you can legally nominate one person to come and visit you on a regular basis.
Okay, so you're allowed to nominate a person to visit you.
Yes, but it has to be non-COVID, legal, and all this other stuff too.
Okay, I'm very glad that I brought this up because this is very important. Thank you, Anthony Ruvalacaba, for sending me $5 on Super Chat. Okay, so okay. So now they're extending this for 2 more weeks for, I guess, for the sake of humankind. So what's gonna happen with small business? Okay, your business, Steve. Are you okay still, or what's gonna happen when that whole money stops flowing in? What are you gonna do?
Well, I've done my cash flow for the month. I'll be okay for the rest of this month, but next month, November, doesn't look very good because my customers don't have any customers themselves.
Wow. Yeah, it's a deadly domino. It's a deadly domino effect. It's just a vicious circle.
Yes, that's right.
Wow. Okay, so what happens? So what happens if you're divorced or something and you have 2 children, how do you see your children, or like how did they register to be a single bubble?
Well, you basically, I mean, to use the Melbourne and Queensland example, you have to choose between one or the other, not both. That is very difficult because you're talking brothers, sisters, kids, whatever. You just can't make that choice, realistically.
Man, I don't know. It just honestly, like if someone reads this, they're like, they look at what's happening here where I live, okay, or in Vancouver or wherever. Then they look at what's happening in Victoria. They're looking and they're scratching their heads and they're saying, what country is what planet is Victoria on? It's obviously not on Earth.
No, it's in a different time zone.
It's crazy. So, okay, Steve.
Crazy is being nice.
So
it's terrible.
Are they gonna? Is there a rumor of putting a new governance in place? I mean, the only way to fix this is to put a new government, or some sort of a movement to get early elections or something.
Well, as I understand it, in Victoria, there's comments online on Facebook that the Prime Minister of Australia has gone to meet the Governor-General to talk about the legality of the curfew. Now, whether anything happens, I've got no idea. But their moves afoot to make it come out or come off.
Yeah, I'm just lost for words, buddy. Like every week we have you on to follow up on this, and every week it's just getting worse.
Yes, it is. It's staggeringly bad.
Okay, so how long have you been on lockdown now, Stephen?
For the best part, since March of this year.
March of this year?
March 2020.
Holy crap.
It's the longest in the world for lockdown.
Wow. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, and, and you have to get permission to go out buy food. You can't be 5 miles away from your home. They're going to put a mandatory app on everyone's phone, and if you forget your phone at home and say I don't have my phone or I don't have a phone, they're going to fine you anyway.
Yes.
And you said there's a lot of air traffic around you, like drones and all this crap flying around?
Helicopters, planes, all sorts of things flying overhead to make sure you're doing what you ought to be doing.
Steve, man, I'm lost for words, buddy. I'm totally lost for words.
Yes.
I can't fathom something like this. Like, okay, but, when you think of this end of world case scenario or takeover scenario, I mean, you're getting the martial law without any civil unrest.
Well, it's only really just begun today. Because, as I said earlier, in Queens, Victoria market, it started today, but only on a small scale. You see, we in Australia, we don't have any weaponry as a civilian population, so we can't fight with anything except really bad language. And if that's all you got, well, sorry, that's not going to do it.
Interesting. So a military coup will be out of the question, and so This is crazy because you got the martial law in place, but you don't have the civil unrest for them to kind of say, bad citizens, now we're going to impose civil unrest. I could understand if that was the case, but that's not even the case. It's some sort of flu. Yeah, it's a flu going around, and 500 people in Australia died of this since January.
Yeah, something like that.
But Steve, I'm a betting man, and I could bet you 100 to 1 that more people died in slipping in the shower than they died of COVID.
I would say more people died of driving a motor car than dying of COVID in Australia.
I would say more people fell down the stairs and died since January than COVID.
Yes, you're right. It's just silly.
This is disgusting, Steve. Get in contact
Yes.
with me if there's any, coming next month. Let me know what your financial situation is there, and
Yes,
if there's any
we will.
troubles, I'll see what I could do to help you out. Okay?
No worries. Thank you very much.
No problem, Stephen. You take care. God bless you. Okay?
Thank you. All the best.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
So that is Stephen Thomas down in Melbourne, Australia. He's got enough funds for this month. He's an accountant, a financial advisor. He knows, he's been on the show. We usually have him on trends in the housing market. So he talks about the housing in Australia and kind of giving us a little update on what's happening with, interest-only mortgages, 100% loan-to-value mortgages, first-time home buyer loans. He comes on and talks about that with us, I say. But now he's on Mike in the Night telling us about his lockdown, and they're going to extend it 2 more weeks, I say. They're going to extend it 2 more weeks, I say. All right, let's move on here. So we got the fires. We got Victoria Police. So there it is. There's the military. Here it is. There is the military here in Sydney. In Melbourne, Australia. They're locked and loaded, ready to go. I'm not sure what the deal is. I really don't know what the deal is. I mean, hey, what's going on here? Yeah. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, we got almost 200 people watching tonight, Mike in the Night. First caller was good. We got Mitch in from Oregon giving us an update on what is happening on the ground there in Oregon. And we got Morgan calling in. What's up, Morgan?
What's going on, Mike?
Not much. How you doing? Everything okay down there?
Yeah, everything's all right. I was just watching your stream, and I'm pretty mind blown about the whole Australia thing.
Yeah, you have no idea.
Uh,
I thought like the way they're discussing this or the way they're bringing it up and they're creating these single person bubbles and you're not allowed to see more than one person to visit you when you're on lockdown. It's almost like you're in your own self-contained prison.
Yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like. And I couldn't even imagine being over there right now. And it's like, can you imagine being stuck in your house and you have all the anxiety of, am I going to lose my business,
Yeah, imagine being stuck in your house since March.
That's just insane. I just like, and it kind of ties into something too, because our local media here, in Arizona, things are traditionally kind of conservative here.
Mm-hmm.
But the Overton window's been shifting so much. Like our local news media is throwing a massive fit because they think that Trump was downplaying the coronavirus because of some tape that came out. I don't know if you heard of that or not.
No, I don't know. I don't even follow the mainstream media. Every time I watch the mainstream media, it's like watching bad soccer announcing, and you want to throw a beer or a Coke at the television. Yeah.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think I originally heard of your channel through Styx Hexenhammer. I don't know if you heard of him or not.
Who?
Styx Hexenhammer.
Okay, I guess they mentioned me on there.
Yeah, he's a pretty big channel, and he does like a lot of news coverage. He's got like 500,000 subscribers and stuff.
Holy crap!
That was like over a year ago. I think he was watching this. But yeah, like everybody's, all these media companies out here are like up in arms because supposedly Trump said in an interview like he was trying not to incite panic with the coronavirus. And my question is like, how do you downplay this virus? I mean, the dude printed like $4 trillion in the U.S. Like that's. Dude,
they're gonna downplay this, and let me tell you when they're gonna downplay this. They're gonna downplay this after the election period.
Yeah,
it's an election year period.
Yeah,
that's it.
It's wild. People are fed up with it here. I mean, the neighbors and everything are like, like we like. You almost can't even talk about it because like just it's so shoved down your throat. I mean, I get phone calls on a daily basis from Joe Biden's campaigners, and it's like, and I'm like, come on.
Wait. So you're getting phone calls to vote for Vegetable Joe?
Yeah. They're well funded. I mean, there's a lot of people backing him that aren't. Well, of course, it's not him. It's his handlers,
Right, of course.
that are running the show.
Of course.
Right. So.
Interesting.
But they're all, of course they're, trying to do everything they can to take down Trump, and I'm not even really a huge Trump fan. It's just
Mm-hmm.
It's
no,
like,
I just, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it. I'm feeling it. It's like I don't even know if I should cry or if I should, okay, we're talking about it, but what, like the other guy that was just on the show from Victoria, he told me, hey man, he's like, we don't have any weapons. We've been de-armed or weaponized, when they pulled a lot of our weapons, right? So now what are we going to do? They go there and use bad language? That's not going to work.
Oh, and it's pretty insane too, because it's like, that's the whole American argument, is that we're not gonna give up our guns because we need our guns in case tyranny happens. And of course the left's like, oh no, that wouldn't happen. You're a conspiracy theorist, this and that. Well, fast forward to 2020 and it's like, look what's happening in Victoria. It's like, do you really think that the government would be able to get away with that if their citizen was as armed as they are in the US? I don't think it's possible.
Exactly.
Because quite frankly, and I don't mean to come off as but if some government agent comes to me in Arizona, in America, and starts telling me that I've got to stay in my house and that I can't leave, well, they're going to get shot at.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if they're standing on your property telling you this.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's no, if I see a drone in Arizona, if the government tries flying drones out here, they will all get shot down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The drones will get shot out of the sky. There's just no way around it.
Interesting.
They'd shoot them right out of the sky. There's no putting up with that here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, Morgan. Thanks for the update and the plug. And we're gonna move on to more stories here. And
all right, Mike.
Yeah, do some if you ever want to do Mike in the Night stuff. You're welcome to go out and send me. I got your video, but that's for trends in the housing market. But if you want to do Mike in the Night stuff like tent cities or maybe spying on some, or going to putting on a camera and going to a voting station or things like that, go ahead and do that. I'll play it on the show.
All right, Mike. Sounds good.
Thank you, Morgan. God bless you.
All right. God bless you, sir.
Bye.
Have a good night.
That is our man, Morgan Davies, down in Arizona. He sent me a video, and I'm going to play that video on Mike in the Night, on trends in the housing market, because it's actually a good one, so I'm going to play it on trends in the housing market. Okay. Wow, the comments are going way too fast here. Let me see here. Wow, I got 200 people watching this. All right, we got our third caller down. All right, let's get back to some topics here. Let's go back to article scan. This one's weird. Why baby formula prices have doubled every 10 to 15 years in Canada. Well, what happened in Australia, I could tell you what this pallet of baby formula was worth $9,500. Wow. In Australia, what happened was a lot of times Chinese military ships would port in Australia without permission, and soldiers and people would go out to the shopping centers and buy up all their baby formula and all their milk product. I'm not making it up. I am not making it up. And that's happened many times, and that pushes the cost of baby formula, right? And people buy it and send it back to China. People have been sending back pallets worth of baby formula. So there it is there. So I wanted to kind of throw that out there because this is a pretty big deal. Police investigating after truck with Texas tags vandalized in Victoria. So this is in Victoria, BC, I guess. Yeah, obviously. Canadian citizen. Yeah, so there he is. USA, Trump, pro-Trump. So Canada has no idea. 80% of Canada. I hear people everywhere I go. It's like, down in America. It's like, it's an election year. What do you think is happening? oh, Trump's doing a terrible job with this COVID and this and that. What are you talking about? Canada had open flights to China the whole time. Canada had construction, like building condos for Chinese investors as essential. Construction was essential work.
When was the last time anybody saw us beating, let's say, China?
Yeah. So they have no idea. Like, they're so delusionalized when it comes to understanding certain things. Razi Khan saying Canadians are sleeping. Donaire saying COVID is over after election, by the way. Of course it's, if what's that, Barack Hussein Obama, if he was sitting as president right now, let me tell you what would have happened. Let me put it on full screen here. Let me tell you what would have happened. They would have nibbed the COVID at the border, and COVID would have been maybe a couple of days. They wouldn't have to shut the country down, and Canada, and they would have had something on the go, and he would have been nominated for another Nobel Peace Prize. That's what would have happened if somebody else was in the presidency. That's what would have happened. And then people in Canada say, oh, look at Obama, look what he did, look at Obama. And they have no idea what's going on. So there it is there. Get ready. So if you're living in Canada, for the folks living in Canada, get ready for the Liberals' secret new carbon tax. As Canadians emerge from COVID-induced hibernation, the Liberal government is preparing a plan to make their lives more expensive to meet its climate targets. Now, here's the deal with Canada. The percentage is going to go up in a double-digit percentage for homes, businesses, and property owners. They're going to go up in double-digit porcentaje. Let me tell you, los números se va a subir casi doble porcentaje. I got to say that in Spanish because it sounds pretty cool. But yes, that is what's going to happen, people. And it's not looking good. It is not looking good, my friends. Canada is like Europeans now. There's Europeans, okay, that have been here for 3 generations. Okay? I spoke to somebody whose grandparents were from Greece, and he was born in Canada. And he's getting his citizenship for Greece and using his grandparents, like, for permission so we can get the hell out of Canada. Woo!
I love China.
Wow. This is huge. This is huge. All right, let's see what we can get on the show here. Come on, who's out there? I wonder if Stephen Williams is still awake. Stephen, are you awake, buddy? Stephen, are you asleep, buddy? I know it's like 8, 9, 10, 11. It's like midnight there. I don't know if I should call him. Let me just call him. I want to get him on the show real quick. Okay, his Skype is off. He's probably in bed right now. I'm sorry about that. Let's see if we can get my Ravenola on. I've been trying to reach you. You're a lot tougher to get than the president.
You know what? I got my wisdom teeth on Thursday, so it's kind of laying low.
Were you listening to the show earlier? Sorry, I didn't hear that part.
Yeah, I was listening. I wasn't reading. No, I was just doing some work here, just moving, but I was listening in the background.
Yeah. So, are we gonna have a Victoria, Melbourne style lockdown in Canada?
That's all psychological. Sorry, Australia. You guys were the penal colony to start, so it's much easier for the world to accept that you're going to be a penal colony again. A little bit of predictive programming there. That's why they chose Australia. Mm-hmm. We all know why they chose China to release their agenda. communists. So yeah, it's all psychological. Everything, man. The whole thing's psychological. Even what they're doing to us. I went into a Subway today and I started talking to the two girls there, and they were wearing their masks, going, "Oh, it's such a horrible disease. We got to be safe." And I'm like, we're gonna lose this war, Mike. We're gonna lose this one.
Well, there's just too many people asleep.
You know what? And you can't wake them up. It's just so hard to wake those people up. Like, you want to give up. You know what? This COVID's taken away all my ambitions. It's taken away all my hopes and dreams for a future. It's crushed it. I've never had something in life affect me so mentally as this. The anguish from this is driving me nuts. I caught earlier there, 3RG said they're going to drive people crazy. Oh, they're doing it. They're driving us
apparently
nuts.
Suicide rates are going up everywhere.
Well, it's not that far yet, but it's just, you think, oh, I'm going to travel. When you retire, you'll travel. You can't do nothing. And what are you saying, 24 months? Oh, this will be, Mike, this is never going to end. Never. People need to really get some things straight here. The election, that's a reality show. That's whatever they want it to be. They're going to drag you along.
Because last week,
it's a reality.
Well, we had him on the show. We had him on the show last week. Okay, last week he tells us, yeah, they're extending it 2 more weeks. We call him today. He backs up and he says yes, and now they're extending it 2 more weeks on top of that last week.
Yeah, never going to end. Never going to end. You think an election, then that presidential election, stop thinking that somebody's going to have a choice to elect a president. That was decided years ago.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying about that. I'm not saying about who's going to win and what they're going to do. It's not that. I'm saying because it's an election year. I don't care who wins. Yeah. It's an election year in America. And all this crap, usually during an election year, usually you don't get it this bad because usually everybody that gets in, you know what I'm saying? But this one, they're taking it real serious and they're really torching the country right now.
Yeah. Well, I don't believe in the election. I don't believe in COVID. I believe what they're doing, though. I just, a lot of people have to come to some realizations. You can't move forward and figure things out, put the pieces of the puzzle together until you come to some realizations. The U.S. presidential election is a fraud. It's a joke. It's already decided. That's just to keep everybody distracted and they have a choice. You ain't got no choice. You ain't got no choice. You have no choice where COVID's going to end either. They're going to keep taking this down the road. It's never going to end. Yeah, I get tired of it's just a very tiring thing to talk about that. I just don't think people are going to, I think we're going to lose this war. I really do.
Okay, we got John 36Z says, I talked to a Dollarama employee with a full plastic bubble over his head who said it will never end.
You know what, Boris Johnson, they're talking about $100 billion. They want to test everybody. Yeah, and then you get a freedom pass if you pass people, and that stuff's all gone now. Like that just ended. What happened to all that? These guys are going to drive us crazy enough that people are going to start doing stupid things, and in here too, we'll do stupid things, and they'll just take the guns. They'll say, "Yeah, that's it." They'll just do a blanket. That's it. Take the guns. You can't have this, people, because they're driving us to it. Driving us to the like. People are going nuts. You can't take it anymore.
So
we're going to get ready for a huge lockdown coming up. The flu season's coming. You know they're going to play that one out. I think phase 1 depopulation's coming this fall. So probably around the election.
So Raven, how is this making you feel?
Crazy. What do you like? You know what? There's a lot of red flags popping up to do with food. That one really
I was going to touch. I was actually going to touch on that with you. We're just having some questions here. Guys, go ahead and refresh it. Sometimes we just get this. I don't know. YouTube is what they're doing is they're allocating bandwidth to more important channels. So we lose bandwidth from time to time. So it depends if Ja Rule's going to come on and make an announcement or something, and then we lose all our bandwidth. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know who Ja Rule is, but I'm just kind of throwing out a big name out there. But anyways, go ahead and refresh your things. Let's just wait a few seconds here, Raven. Looks like we're back online. It looks like we're moving at... Okay, we're moving nice and smooth. Now we lost the Raven. Raven, are you there, buddy? Oh, we lost the Raven. Poor connection with the Raven. Yeah, so we got Buddy in the comments here. Dictator Dan is saying we can handle the virus, but we can't handle the lockdown. 3RG is saying Antifa is bigger than ISIS. Aquarius says meat is limited in Safeway in Burnaby. Bob Smither says Amazon has stopped selling seeds. Are you there, Raven? Let's try and get him back on the horn here. Let's see if he picks up. We're getting pretty bad internet connection here. Come on, pick up. Yeah, there's something wrong with Raven's internet too. I don't know. It's probably something that's happening across Canada. I don't know what the heck is happening here. Okay, guys, so let's get back to, let's get another caller on. I'm just looking at this. It's like, man, Canada has like these, I don't know, man. I don't know, like, what's happening, like, when it comes to, I just wish I could give you guys the answers, and, you know, we got to get more people on the show to find out what the heck is going on in their neck of the woods. Sorry, guys. Just go ahead and refresh your thing. It should be okay. I'm constantly getting bad connection here. Okay, so let me try calling the Raven back right now. Let's see if he picks up.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, don't be sorry. We're having all bad internet connections everywhere, so...
Okay, before it cuts out again, I just want to say, look at China. Like, you see online...
Hold on, I don't know who's...
to wait.
It sounds like my Skype. Somebody's calling me on Skype. Guys, whoever's calling me on Skype, can you stop calling? I got someone on the phone. Do you hear that?
No.
It sounds like someone's calling on Skype here. Okay. Guys, I'll call you guys. All right, continue.
Yeah, I was just looking at some of the stuff going on in China. Like, they're starting to weigh people.
Oh, yeah, for food. For food.
Yeah. And then they're passing laws that if you waste food online, like some of the food channels, if you're seen wasting food, they'll turn you in. I don't know what happens to you, but they're running out of food. It's going to be a big thing, and you can see it all over the world. There's all kinds of food banks and lineups, and there's I don't know. They add 220,000 people a day to this planet, 80 million a year. I think 150 people a minute. So that's 80 million a year we're adding to this planet.
Okay, hold on a second. Before we go to adding people to the planets, there is a social credit score adjustment made in China last week on food consummation. So whatever food, okay, the social credit score that they have in China now, as of last week, they added food consumption. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah. There's a lot going on right now. Look at MasterCard's floating that digital currency for the central banks. Digital currencies for the central banks. So that's, I think I sent you that article, actually. That's lots of stuff going on, and a lot of psychological stuff going on.
We
the
got
food issues.
FAP win. $1 billion in COVID fines have been handed out in Melbourne. $1 billion.
That's a penal colony. Those people are getting locked up because it's their chance. It's their turn. right? Everybody gets their turn. They pulled the currency in India. They did the bail-ins in Cyprus. They did the coronavirus in China. They also do the digital currencies in China. That way we get upset. Oh, we can't let them have digital currencies. We got to have them too. We can't let them get ahead of them.
We got to fight fire with fire.
That's how they do it. It's just what they do. There's no end to the psychological agendas that they're running here. It's unbelievable. They will write many books about it. It's an unbelievable thing. It's not going to be over, Mike. This is going to go on and on and on. And I think that if what you try to wrap your mind around is this is a depopulation event. I think that's in their big picture is a depopulation event. 80 million added a year. We're not going to just people go, oh yeah, COVID's killing people. The numbers are too small. COVID is just their vehicle.
Yeah.
This is a depopulation event.
I think more people died of opioid and drug overdoses in BC last month than all of Canada died of COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got it 80 million a year. So what are you going to do? You're going to kill 10 million, 20 million? They took away sports.
Everyone was booing those football players anyway. They were booing them the other day on the NFL.
It's all psychological. The whole thing's psychological. I'm in the dressing room right now, and I want to beat the shit out of the other team. Guess what? The other team's wearing masks. I hate those people who wear masks. I can't stand the masks. Then there's black and white, Democrat, Republican, gun, no gun, stay there, go here, get there. They're driving us nuts. They're getting it like locker rooms. There's no more sports. They've made our will to win and fight, and they've taken it away. They've replaced it with this. They're taking away the food. You see this picture building up here? I think the election is probably the pinnacle of the madness, because this madness doesn't keep going. Look at last November. They had 45% of the world in protests. Mm-hmm. That couldn't keep going. The world was going nuts. It couldn't keep going. COVID put an end to that pretty much.
Yeah, we had Hong Kong. We had Hong Kong. We had
everywhere. It was everywhere. Hong Kong. We had France.
The Gilets jaunes. We had uprisings in Canada.
Everywhere. Yeah, it was like 90 countries that were going nuts, right? So now we have all this going on. 48 of the states, they say, have had protests. Mm-hmm. It's happening shit, and people are getting pissed off. I see arguments all the time in Home Depot or here or there. I can't believe what it's mentally done to me. It's affected me more than anything that I've ever gone through on this planet. Is COVID has affected me more than anything. It's not even worth the aggravation. Shutting down this whole economy wasn't even worth the aggravation. So I think that there's going to be a phase 1 depopulation. I hope I'm wrong, but these guys are building this shit up for some reason, and they're not stupid. The Federal Reserve does not make mistakes. They say they're both the arsonist and the fireman. No, those guys know exactly. They're calculated. Those guys aren't making, the Fed always screws up. They know exactly what they're doing. These guys know exactly what's going on. This is a big psyop, and it's going to explode. And when it explodes, there ain't going to be no food in those cupboards. And 80 million a year we add to this planet, because they believe that it is an environmental issue.
Right.
I believe there's some credence to that. I just look at it because I have to look at everything to see the whole picture, and I do believe too many people using too many stuff, and it's cooking. It's cooking us. Look at this summer. Canada lost its last ice shelf 2 weeks ago. You can deny it all you want. You can say, that's BS. What if you're wrong? You got to at least be open to the possibility that we are cooking this planet. And I think they believe that. And it's a finite planet with resources. We're chewing through that shit faster and faster with 80 million a year. 2.5 Canadas we throw onto this planet every year. Where's that end? It's already gone insane. This is a spring cleaning. And if we are going into a depopulation, like a phase 1 depopulation, which it looks like they're doing, because everything that I'm looking at tells me red flags for this, for that. Why would you try to piss off an entire world so much? Mm-hmm. Like, and the food around the world, all you got to do is start reading and looking at they're hitting everywhere. Why did they release that swine flu last year and call all those pigs, the cod fishing, the corn in Africa, it's everywhere. The avian bird flu.
Locusts.
The locusts. And you know what? They're never going to stop the locusts because you can't get the pesticides across the borders because of COVID. But isn't that convenient?
Yeah.
So let them eat the crops. It's just, you keep looking and the answers just keep falling in your lap going, holy shit, these guys they're setting us up.
One continent that's not putting up with this anymore is actually Africa. Africa's pushing back. A lot of countries in Africa are pushing back.
Well, the president of Tanzania there, he sent away the COVID samples of a papaya and like a mule or something. That guy was a chemist. That's why he did that. Mm-hmm. Xi Jinping, Putin, Trump, Merkel, Macron, some of the big players in Europe and that. This is like Layla said, this is a global initiative. The smaller countries will follow along. Most of them will do what the WHO said, right? The WHO. I only follow what the WHO says. Mm-hmm. So they'll all just follow along. Yeah, this is so don't think for 1 minute that Trump's going we're going to count the ballots. That's a joke, man. I got such a kick when people think that there's going to actually be an election. Yeah, there was no election with Hillary.
We'll be following it here on the channel, hopefully, if there is one.
You know what? We're all going to take days off of work. We want to have like an election party. It's just going to be a joke. They wanted to put someone weak up there that couldn't beat him, and I think they went overboard with that guy. Mm-hmm. So it's not going to be good. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Maybe that's too gloom and doom for everyone to say that. But you know what? It's just what I see. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I am. Like, that's not a world you want to live in. These guys are going to take this, like, you can see how crazy they're making everything. Now, Lisa Tam in Canada is saying if you're going to have relations in bed, you got to wear a mask.
Yeah, I saw that. Did you see the parody, the joke they put up on social media about that?
No, I didn't see that.
They put somebody speaking over her. It was so funny, man. I think it was more funnier than my G.I. Jose video.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways. Okay, Raven.
So
tell us.
What's that? What were you going to ask?
Go ahead, tell us. I was going to say if you had any final words or anything major you needed to add.
You know what? I just see the red flags, a lot of red flags for food. Like, and then I think of the Bolsheviks and there's so many red flags for food. And you could see it last year, right? And then why are they making things so crazy? Like, it's like they're doing it on purpose.
I know, it's almost like they're I feel sorry for people that retired this year or last year, and they can't travel, they can't do nothing, they can't get in their van life and travel and do stuff. They're screwed.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what I did? I went to Home Depot and I looked at the wood there, and it was a 2x4 was $3.60 pre-COVID, and now it's $6.25 for a 2x4. I went and checked the prices out there.
That's more expensive than the price of cocaine.
No.
I'm being sarcastic. It's gone up more than, anything. Like, that's a lot of that's a 100% increase.
Yes. Yeah, so you got to factor that in with all these developers and all that, eh? So, but yeah, that's about it. I see a lot of red flags, and I hope I'm wrong about that, but whatever.
All right. So, yeah, are you working next week?
I don't know. Maybe. I'm just I have to be out of my house on Monday, so I'm just doing the last little moving stuff, and after that, I take everything from the sale price and I put it into gold juniors. Everything. Throw it on gold. Put it all on red.
Well, before you do that, let me know which ones you're going to buy later. Let me know later which ones you're going to buy so I could be in if your investment is enough to tilt it a bit for me.
Well, Eric Sprott just put $78 million into First Majestic. I think that was today or yesterday. He bought $78 million in First Majestic, so that he's the biggest precious metal investor in the world. That tells you where silver's going to go, probably.
First Majestic. I used to buy and sell with those guys.
Keith Newmeyer. Yeah, Keith Newmeyer's company there out of Vancouver.
Yeah.
We'll see.
All right.
Anyway, okay.
Raven, have a good night, buddy. You stay strong and continue moving, doing your thing. And if you know where to, we'll get you on next week if you're not busy, and you could give us that.
You know what, Mike? I got my wisdom teeth pulled out, so I'm a little medicated.
Nice.
I'm flying. The Raven's flying. Ah.
Woo! All right.
Have a good one, man.
God bless. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Guys, that is the Raven. And we got Stephen Williams calling on the show. And hopefully he'll pick up. Stephen? You there, buddy? Hello? Hello?
Are you hearing me?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly. How are you, my brother?
Why do you think I would tell you I'm on and go to sleep, dude? I set my alarm for this time, man.
Woo! Sorry about that. I called your Skype and it was off.
Yeah, I don't know what is wrong with Skype because
Well, they know. Well, Skype knows we're talking, so they got to stop that.
Yeah, I basically the last time you called me, it really, I don't know what happened. It looked like it does its own thing, but after you called me, I reinstalled it and I was good to go. So I was here waiting on the call, man. When it comes to my word, I give my word.
I know, brother. Okay, Steven, do you wear a mask while you're driving in your car?
Are you crazy, dude?
Okay, how do you feel when you see other people driving their car with a stupid mask on?
I'm very annoyed, and you know, I think, but I realize what is happening in Canada. You see, most of us are programmed by the mainstream media, so it is what you have to see with these people. It is a programming that is happening at this time. Mm-hmm. It's a fear mongering, and that is why I told you the other night that I honestly don't even keep abreast too much with what is happening again, because as the brother you just talked to said, it's all a farce. You know, there's a lot of farce that is going on. You know. Let
me ask you. Most 99.9999% of vehicles have a cabin air filter that actually filters any contaminants coming in from the outside to the inside of the car. And it just makes me wonder why people are wearing masks while driving. Now, let me ask you this, Stephen. Have you been pushed away or turned away from a store because of you weren't wearing a mask?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. In the first couple of weeks when it became mandatory, you know, how they how they went about it was it was such a brainwashing approach, because first they say, oh, we're going to have a meeting on whether we're to let the Niagara region wear masks, but I don't think we're going to bother to have the meeting. But I said to my wife, look at how they're going to whop it back on us and say, you know what, let's have the meeting and hear what people are saying. And I said to her, they're just using that as a tactics, because the ultimate aim is for us to wear the mask. There must be some sinister reason why this mask is important. And I heard something in the grapevine that says the 5G camera cannot identify you a certain way. So it wants to see how you would look and identify you while you're wearing a mask, so that they can ID you even if you try to hide by wearing a mask. So a lot of people know what they do. They wear a dark glasses and they pull down a hat over their head while they're wearing their mask. So it confuses the camera, I guess. I don't know.
Stephen, let me ask you something. Your friend, she was on the news the other day, on all the Canadian news, saying that you must be wearing a mask while you're making love.
No way. Who said that?
Oh, you didn't catch that? That was all over the world.
I heard something to that effect, but I thought it was a joke. I saw
no, that was real.
It was a joke.
That was real.
Who said that? Was it Tom?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Look it up. There's a 50 quadrillion articles. There's even articles in Icelandic tongue. There's articles in Arabic on it. It's all over the place.
Oh my gosh. That is just so nonsensical. But I hear that there are big protests taking place now in Montreal because the mayor came out and said that they're going to be imposing heavy and stiffer fines. So now the people have taken to the streets in their thousands and protesting against it.
Yeah, I think Canada's going to be a tough sell. Victoria, I don't know if you heard the beginning of the show when we had Stephen Thomason from Victoria.
Yeah.
We've been following him every week. And they've extended another 2 weeks. He's been on lockdown, and he can't even leave his house now since March.
Yeah, I heard it. That's ridiculous. How do you? This is just being. But you cannot blame the people in charge because we are the dummies. One thing I've learned in college. Do you know what the government is most afraid of around the world? Do you know their biggest fear?
Is us.
Is protest.
The people obviously are the ones that
when the people come together and protest, they're scared of that. So I don't know why it is that we're so dumbed down that everybody just seems to be going along with the drama. This is drama now. This is high drama. Come on. Okay.
Now I wanted to ask you something about the. Could this be now? This is your opinion. Could this be that we are in an election year, and all this crap is going on? Because I don't think they'd have this big COVID effect or this big COVID in America if Trump wasn't president. I think it'd be different if it was Obama.
As I said to you some time ago, as a person who is a Bible-believing Christians, these are things that were written eons ago, and I always take current events from a biblical perspective. I don't know if I think you say you're a believing Christian.
I'm a Roman Catholic.
You're a Roman Catholic. Well, these are stuff that were spoken of long time ago. So what we see happening here, it's just a fulfillment of those prophecies, and we're heading there. If you notice that we're now being scanned, I see an ad just now with not an ad, a report about the virus in the schools. And they were literally using a scanner to scan the children's forehead. They call it a temperature check.
That's a bunch of garbage. So did they go in the future and scan them and bring it back? How did they get all these numbers on the first day of school?
Yeah, Mike, take it from me, my friend. All of this is spiritual warfare. All of this, what we're seeing, it's a battle between good and evil, because this thing is leading up to, everything is becoming forced. Freedom of speech is going to be taken away. Your right to breathe is going to be taken away. The Bible even foretell that there's coming a time when you will be killed, and you will also be starved, because you cannot buy or sell except you go along with this mandatory stuff. So this all you see here, my friend, it's a dress rehearsal for what is, because the ultimate aim is worship. Soon there will be mandatory worship a certain way. That's where all of this is going. A lot of time we only talk about the trivial things of life, the temporary things of life, the seen things of life. We don't talk about the spiritual aspect. I would like to give a spiritual spin to what is happening. I do believe that we with the coming of Christ, take for instance, I think I mentioned it the other day, but you may have some new audience. A gentleman was preaching in Vancouver the other day. Yeah? He was not targeting any particular person. His message was whosoever will. Whosoever want to hear my message, you come. It's just like your show, Mike. You're not forcing anybody to stay and listen. Whosoever will want to stay and listen, let them listen. The guy was just preaching to those who want to hear the gospel.
Mm-hmm.
And yet this bunch of hundreds of the LGBT community began to
Swarm him.
Swarm him.
Mm-hmm.
They went in the where he was conducting baptism. He had to be escorted by the police. They were spitting on him. They were throwing things on him.
Mm-hmm.
They were in the water with him, holding up their gay flags. And these are the people who claim that they're loving, peaceful people.
Yeah.
You understand?
The same thing with Antifa, same thing with Black Lives Matter, same thing with all this stuff that's happening.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's a spiritual warfare that we're in. Don't forget it. And I hate for people just to look at, oh, it's the government. What they're no, my friend. Listen, there's a Bible text that says we must remember we are not fighting against government. We are not fighting against human beings. We are not wrestling, the Bible calls it, against flesh and blood. We are wrestling against spiritual wickedness in high places. We have evil spirits that are leading people. You have a set of people who are being led by the Spirit of God, and another set of people who are led by the spirit of the devil. And there's a war going on, a spiritual battle, and the battle is intensifying.
I know
it's a competition. Yeah,
Stephen, listen.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, this is Stephen Williams on the show here from the Niagara region in Ontario. Here's his channel right here, guys, if you guys want to subscribe to his channel. I want to thank Vlad PFC, for sending me $2 on Super Chat. I really appreciate that. Okay, Stephen, just so we catch up so that you know, I am a Catholic, and I've seen, you know, people look at me like I believe in creationism. I don't believe in Darwinism. I believe there's a creator. I believe in all that stuff. I believe in God the Father Almighty, creator of heaven and earth. I believe in all that stuff. I've been baptized. I've been my children are baptized, and the whole 9 yards. And I see it working, like people working against or people like, I had somebody tell me that I need shock therapy. Because I have a cross in my store, like in my like on the wall, right? I have a little cross. And some guy told me that I need shock therapy, that he believes that people that believe in God have mental illness. That's what he told me to my face.
Mm-hmm. And are you surprised?
I wasn't surprised. I told him, what if I was to kick the ever-loving SHI out of you?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm saying, like, you know, people want to get into religious discussion. They want to get into political discussion. But they don't have the ammunition. A lot of people are just so out to lunch. Now, Stephen, can you tell us a Covey story about overhearing people talking, that whether you're in a lineup, whether you're like somewhere in some government place, or you're somewhere and you overhear people talking about Covey? What's the dumbest thing you've heard?
You know, it's not a matter of hearing; it's a matter of experiencing, and sometimes body languages, and sometimes people will attack you if you're not wearing that mask, because they have been programmed to believe that you have to be wearing this thing and judging this thing. And even sometimes, like, I will go to the mall, and this is not a natural thing for me to be wearing a mask. It's not natural. So sometimes I will cooperate just for cooperating's sake and not wanting to be in any, you know, I choose my battles. So I don't need to be fighting with the government about what they're doing, right? But sometimes you forget. You have it I carry mine in my wallet. I make sure I have it wherever I go in the store. I put it on just because I know I won't be there for long. If you're breathing your own oxygen, your own CO2 for too long, it's poisonous. If you're breathing it just for a short time, it's okay. A little bit won't hurt you. But you know who I'm sorry for? I am sorry for people who work and have to have that on all day.
Yeah.
That is a recipe for disaster. That is a recipe for disaster. So I've walked into stores already and I see people eyeballing me. And one day I was in a no frills and one lady telling me about she said something to me about the mask or about the social distance, and I tell you, man, I had to blast her to pieces, man, because I was saying, listen to man, you guys are just stupid and brainwashed. You're just being brainwashed by the system. Go and listen. Stop listening to just one set of people. Go and listen to some alternative medias, and they will alleviate your fears, right? Because a lot of us, and that is why one of the things I was saying to you, I am not even conversant now with what is happening, because honestly, I've just shut them out of my life. I've tuned out, as you just said on your program, the mainstream medias, because they are a part of. It's a game, Mike. It's all a part of the game. Everybody have a part to play in this game. So these people are playing their part, and the YouTube, the Google, the Amazon. Look at me as I talk about Amazon. I bought some security cameras. Yep. Just the other day, 3 security cameras. You know what appeared among my security cameras? Something that I've told my family, never ever would I get that. And that was Alexa. What the hell is that doing? Why? Because it's about control. It's about listening to our conversation. It's about control. This is total tyranny, total control. They want to know everything you're saying, every move you're making, all this what you call it, when they're tracking you and all of that. This is all part of the agenda. You see what I'm saying?
I am listening to everything you're saying.
Yes, all of this is a part of the agenda for totalitarianism. If you notice, it is only a few people, as you were saying on your show, that are going to now be licensed to speak about what? We are brain dead. We have no opinion. We can't talk. We can't even breathe. Even your right to breathe is being taken away from you.
And then when someone has... But Stephen, when someone does have an opinion, they come to me and tell me that people that believe in God are mentally ill. And that's what they have to tell me. They don't ask me, oh, how long have you had your store? Oh, this looks like a great place. Oh, it's really nice to see something like this, especially during COVID where, you're selling games and stuff. That's really nice. Yeah. No, it's you are mentally ill because you believe in a God.
Oh yeah. But I have been battling one particular guy with the same thing for the past about 4 years. I used to work at one of those old people homes and things like that, and I met him there, and he's totally anti-God. And even today, he and I was talking, as to whether fear is inborn or fear is something that we learn, And so, because we moved from the God thing now, he's accepting that there is a creator, but he's saying it is not according to how the Bible say it, and all of that. Sure. So, but don't be surprised, my friend. Look, man, just see how I see this thing. The war is between good and evil, God and the devil, right and wrong, truth and error, right? Falsehood and truth. Deception and truth. There's a lot of deception that is going on. Even Jesus himself says that even the very elect would be deceived. One of the first thing, that Christ, when Christ was asked, what will be the sign of your coming? The first thing he mentioned, don't let anybody deceive you, because he knows that there will be deception upon deception upon deception. So all we're seeing here, acting out and playing out, it's a lot of deception. And that's how the devil works. If you go back to Genesis, that's how the devil worked. The first thing he did was to say, did God say you must not eat of the fruit?
Right.
Did God say? In other words, don't listen to him. God doesn't want you to know certain things. God doesn't want, you will be like gods when your eyes are open. God doesn't want that. So he deceived them. So the devil has not changed, my friend. No. He continues the same way. So don't expect that it's going to change.
Well, Stephen, let me get you a little riled up, okay? They've taken away a lot of our freedom of speech. They're looking at passing a bill in Canada now. They're resurfacing the bill now that was introduced before COVID. Now they want to get people like me and you that have YouTube channels to go ahead and get registered and get licensed and approved by the federal government. They're taking away actual education from the schools and changing it to feelings. They've taken away God. They've taken away like everything and anything that meant to be human. And they're dehumanizing us in a way where, you know, they're making it, the thing that's really pushing my buttons is they're making it so plain as day and no one says anything.
Wow. Well, my friend, as I said, there's nothing that you can tell me right now that would shock me or surprise me, because as I said, this is just the dress rehearsal. This is just the tip of the iceberg. I am expecting, as the gentleman said on your program just now, it just will be getting from bad to worse. Did you know that? Do you realize that it's this thing from it started in March? They say, oh, it's just 2 weeks. And then they extend it to another 2 weeks, and then a month, and then another month. And then you hear in the background, I mean, in the speeches from the government around it, the new what? Normal.
The new normal, the new way, the new wave flow.
They don't want to say the new world order, you know. So they're hinting for you to read between the lines. It's the new normal, and under the new normal, you will have to your constitution doesn't matter again. Let nobody fool you. They don't even care about the constitution. What they work by is force. You either do what we say. That's from the devil. You either do what we say or face a fine or prison. That's it. Right now, I don't know if you heard of it, but I was listening to, I don't know if you follow a guy named program named the Dollar Vigilante. Most of
I
his
do
videos
sometimes. Some people do mention him on the channel. I've checked him out, yes.
I love that guy. And he mentioned this morning in one of his videos that now they have some secret places in Canada that they are taking people to. Some secret places.
Yeah, they're doing that. It was in Montreal. They're doing that with the COVID reformant camps in Montreal. It's in Quebec. I've seen the article from Quebec, and they basically said this COVID reformant camps for people with COVID or people who are very sick to be separated from the general population.
Yeah. Well, I see people sitting in park, old women sitting in park, they're getting arrested. I see there's a lady that they I don't know where exactly.
In Australia, where she got swarmed by security guards.
No, I don't know if it's that one, but she was surfing, and they say she have COVID, and she was by herself, and I'm saying like the girl, the Dollar Vigilante was gonna say, oh, I guess she would give the marine life. COVID, pass it on to them, because the woman is barren. Listen to me, man. This is totalitarianism at its peak and at its best, and it will only get. And the sad story is, anybody who wants to kid themselves and think, oh, things will get back to normal one day. I'm telling you, you're being deluded. You are being deluded. Prepare yourself spiritually, number one. And prepare yourself physically, mentally, and every alley that you can think of, you know, because right now, what we're seeing, even the other day, when this thing just started, you got a glimpse of what it could lead to when food shortage. I ran and I was looking for land to buy, Mike. I was looking for land to buy so I can be independent. And the Spirit of God asked me the other day, what if in this cold country the lights should go out, the heat should go out? What the hell? What do you have wood that you can keep your family around the fire to keep your life? We have to begin to do some introspective look at how are we living now?
Steven,
how are we preparing? Yeah.
That's why I got a truckload of wood delivered to my house the other day. I do have several fireplaces in my house, And oh yeah, when I chose this house, I made sure there was room for a garden, which I have a gigantic garden in the back. I made sure I had
Wow.
room to store wood. I made sure it had a gigantic backyard, which it does. I checked everything off the list for survival if needs be.
Wow.
Oh yeah,
Awesome.
when I bought this
Awesome.
house, it wasn't about buying a house and moving in so I'm out of the city. It's about buying a house to make sure I could live off the land if I have to, and I could drill for a while if I need to, and I could basically catch rain if I have to, which I do have a rain catching.
I started doing that. I bought I bought something and it's full now of water, although by now it's got a bit brown and things like that. But yeah, you're along that's what I'm saying, my friend. You are a spiritual man because the Bible says, the wise will understand the time, but the wicked will not understand. And God will help the people of God to be prepared because you're doing some stuff that it's not normal. It's saying God is leading you to do these things because I am being moved in that direction as well. The other day I started a little garden. The other day I started doing some stuff to also see if I can be self-sustenance. We have to because you cannot rely on the system. And you know what is interesting? Netflix has a series about the doomsday
preparedness or the people that preppers.
Doomsday preppers.
Yeah.
There are people who have started this thing from about 2, 3, 4 years ago, and people used to laugh at them.
Yes.
Are you listening to me?
Yes, I remember people getting prepared for 2012.
Yes. People saw what was going to happen about government control and taking over and all of that. I mean, I could go on and on and on because guess what, man? Even today, I was listening to an article and I was reading an article on the Google News. I think it was. And it shows about the CRA I was prosecuting this man for hiding his income and not putting his money in the bank. And the man said he had $70,000. I don't know if you saw that news.
No.
And the $70,000 was in his fridge, and it was his mother who gave him, and he saved it rather than put it in the bank. And it's as if they were saying it should have been in the bank, and it was hiding income. And then they put it before it went before the court. And of course, the court, who you think they sided with?
Well, they obviously sided with the government.
Exactly, because they are the government. And I'm saying, oh my gosh, what is going to become of us in this world?
Oh, it's going to be pretty bad.
It's scary what's happening. It is scary what's happening. But my comfort lies in the word of God. He says, fear not.
Right.
Because no plague will come near your dwelling. We have to. I don't know, my friend. I know I sound very religious on your program.
Dude, I'm religious too. I if the church was open, I go to church tomorrow.
Let me tell you something. I am not making any apology for sounding like I'm preaching because I have to. I'm not just talking. A lot of people just want to talk about getting back to normal, going back to work, and living the life that they've been living. Let me tell you something. I am not seeing it that way. I am seeing this as omens of being big things to come, and the things that have been spoken of by the prophets in books, and they are now right before our eyes. And what we need to do is not try. We don't have to fight the system. Yeah.
Yeah.
What we need, because you can't fight. We're fighting a losing battle. You're not gonna win against them. You're not gonna win.
Well, they're not taking my God away.
You're not gonna win. So all you've got to know to try ask God to help you to stand on your own 2 feet and to face the Bible tells you. It says, here are they that got the victory over the beast and his image. That's where we're going. We're heading towards the beast and his image and false worship. That is where this thing is going. And the Bible says, here are they that got victory over it. So, in other words, there coming a time, as I said to you before, in Revelation 13, people can read it, verse 15 to 18, talks about that time when nobody can buy or sell except you have the mark of the beast in your hand or your forehead, and you'll be boycotts, and you will be killed. That's what the Bible says. It's not just fines. We are in the nice part of it now, when you're just being fined money. There is coming a time when whether you believe, just the same way most of us could not believe that you can wake up and before you know it, we are in a new, this pandemic has been hijacked. Even if there is a pandemic, it has been hijacked by the government, and it is being used as a tool to achieve an end.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying there's no virus, I don't know anybody with it, but I hear about it. I hear the numbers, blah, blah, blah. I hear that people know people who have it. I hear people come in and say they had it and they get better and they use this and that to cure it and whatever. Listen to me. So I'm not denying that there is a virus. And the Bible did say pandemic would break out too, because that's what they call pestilence. But what I am saying is it's being hijacked. Yeah?
I'm listening, yes.
And it's now being used as a tool to achieve an agenda.
Yes. You put it, I think you said it better than John F. Kennedy would have. Let me ask you, Stephen, I'm going to let you go, but I'm going to ask you for a favor, please.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to download this show when it's done tomorrow sometime. Can you cut that clip out with you in the show here on Mike in the Nights? And can you put it on your channel and maybe, because you have like 21,000 subscribers, if you don't mind putting it on your channel, where you're on the show and say, it's me, Stephen Williams, here on Mike in the Night, talking about this, because you brought up some very powerful points, and this way people could know that I exist too. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, I have no problem doing that. Even though these days YouTube is so, they're doing everything to quench my program, and you're getting warnings and this and that. But you know something? That's why I'm saying again, I am trying my best to be because YouTube know that a lot of us rely on the little income that they give us every month. Mm-hmm. And so people sometimes sell out their souls to the devil for money. I am not into the business of selling out my soul for money.
Nope, not worth it.
If God calls,
not worth it.
No, if God calls you to speak the truth, you got to speak the truth. And regardless of the consequences, you've got to let people know that, hey, wake up. As they say, wake up. It's wake up time, because we are on the verge. This is the end, as they would say. We are in the end time. Right. I am convinced, and even the blind man can see now that we are convinced. Even people, you know what is interesting? It's most of the people outside of the church that are saying these things, are using these terms, I'm not talking about the Christians. The Christians are quiet, The people outside the church of the circle talking more about what is happening and giving a spiritual perspective than the Christians themselves, because most of the Christians are just hell-bent on pleasure, money, and yet they don't care. They're just living. And the outside people are realizing that, no, sir, something is wrong. Something is wrong somewhere. Yep. This is not the world that we know. The world as we know it has changed. Yeah?
I'm listening to you, yeah.
And it is getting from bad to worse. And the Bible did say evil men and seducers shall grow worse and worse. The sad fact is, and I hate to end on a sad note, but the scripture never promises that in this world it's going to get better. Are you listening to me? Yes. So brace yourself, my friend. However, he promises that better is coming when Christ put an end to it. So mankind is going to get from bad to worse. Listen to me, man, before I close, Mike. Listen to me. He says, Jesus' words. And, you know, if it's Paul and Peter, you can't take it for granted. But you see, when the Son of God speak, you've got to listen. He says there will come a time that no flesh would be saved if he didn't intervene. So, in other words, we have not seen anything yet. He says no flesh would be saved if he did not intervene. So that is how bad things are going to get. We're hearing about, there have been over the past couple of years, tension with Russia, tension with China.
War on drugs. War on drugs.
Yeah, war on this and war on that, and all front, starvation, pestilence. I mean, it just takes one trigger, one thing. This pandemic has, because people are now on the road, they have no money, they have no food. It's just the grace of God that they're living by. This is America, the land of the dreams, eh?
Yep, paved golden roads. All right, Stephen, I'm going to let you go. Anyway. It's 40 minutes now, and it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. We'll have you on again, buddy. We'll have you on in parts. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. And listen to me, man. Once you tell me that we're on, I will set up my alarm and I will wait up. Even a while ago when he was calling me, there was nothing coming up. When you say, oh, he's not answering, no. There was nothing coming up on my screen that, you know, it's supposed to come up on your screen so you can click on answer. There was nothing coming up. But
yeah,
I heard
I'm going to go through Skype again and check it out.
Yeah.
I'll check it out.
All right, Mike. Well, keep up the good work, my friend. You're doing an awesome job, and don't let anybody discourage you, you know?
No, there's nothing discouraging me. I'm going to leave a link in the comments to people to subscribe to you. And if you don't mind clipping out this little clip and putting it on your channel, let people know that you were on here so people know I exist too.
Sure.
All right, Stephen. Stay out of trouble. Yeah. God bless you, and lots of love.
I'm blessed. Same here, my brother.
God bless. So that is Stephen Williams calling in to the show. I called him, but there was no answer. We've always had this phone tag thing happening with Stephen Williams. So I'm going to give you the link to his channel. He's got a lot of information, but I want to break it down in shows. Like, I want him to come on like in another 2 weeks, and then we do an update on what he thinks on the biblical point of view. Then we'll have the Raven coming in and having a bird's eye view. So the Raven will be the bird's eye view, the biblical view. Then you got me in the middle talking, right? And my internet is going to crap. So my internet looks like the kilobytes are dying right now. Come on, baby. Come on. I pay almost $200 a month for internet. Just internet. That's not cable. That's nothing else. Internet. All right. I'm going to give you guys the link for Stephen Williams. Guys, please. Please check out the Stephen Williams channel. So we got lots of people in the comments. All right. Good call, Stephen. It's buffering, guys. I don't know. It's like the internet company is like, here, I'm going to give you a few crumbs of kilobytes here. Like I'm getting it for free or something here. It's Shock Cable, by the way. I don't know who's with Shock Cable, but okay, we got Ralphie calling in. He's been trying to call in for the last 40 minutes. Ralphie, is that you?
Yeah, mate. How's it going?
It's going good. Let me put you on our visual cam here on Mike in the Night. We got Ralphie here from New Zealand. You said you wanted to talk about like mental health thingy or something. Tell us what's on your mind.
Yeah, man. It's awesome. By the way, great calls today. I've been listening throughout. I was driving in my car and I had you guys. I've been listening to the previous calls. What I've noticed is the same sort of tension that I can hear in their voices. And I just wanted to quickly talk about mental health, if that's all right.
Mm-hmm. Mental health is a big issue.
It is a big issue, especially now, but you got to remember, we are currently in the trenches. If this was a war zone, a war on your mind, we are in the trenches. So we got to think about running a marathon and not ending the race too quickly. I mean, I remember just this Friday, yesterday, I actually had to remove all my socials, remove myself from the news, center myself, because I had a breakdown because I took the day off work, and it was all about the stress levels, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's in design, but we got to stay focused and remember that it's by design, because if they can destabilize us,
Mm-hmm.
they can build us up to their own image, you know what I mean? So we gotta do this resistance thing as a way, like, think of it as a marathon,
Mm-hmm.
and also think of it as even if one person, if I have to, me as an individual, have to rest for a while, center myself, do some yoga, if you're a spiritual person, connect with God, all that sort of thing, so that you can pick yourself up again and you're rejuvenated for another go. But while you're resting, there are others around you that are picking up the baton, and they're carrying on. And I'll give you an example. So in New Zealand at the moment, we are still in lockdown. And what I've noticed, though, is there are weekly protests every Saturday midday in Auckland, where people are it's a meeting of minds, and that's really helpful, because you cannot stay isolated, because we are by design social people.
Right.
It's a meeting of minds, and it's also a way. It's like a recruitment marketing process,
Right.
And I meet people throughout my life in all sorts of spectrum, whether they're red pill or blue pill. But see, I look at it as strategically, not so much as a preacher, but as a person that with a heart of a teacher. So, but I try and find that angle with every individual person, because as you say a lot in your show, it's all about, every person is a case-by-case basis. I hear you talk about that a lot. You heard that, you learned that from your dad, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I believe in that too, because every person is a case-by-case basis, red pill or blue pill. But it's just a matter of finding an angle. I'll give you an example. A friend of mine, he's very blue pill, and he's a very close friend. And I'm friends with all sorts of people, regardless of your religious beliefs or political beliefs. I look at the heart, But what I've noticed is just yesterday, he actually said, hey, look, I'm curious about what's happening with all these protests. He actually went to one just to look at, to view. And this is a blue pill guy. And he said, I just wanted to see what was happening, what all the fuss is about. I mean, he said, I don't believe in all the, signs. A lot of them are debunked, because, he's got his own process as well. But see, how I spoke to this individual is to get him curious. Is I know he's a very business-minded person, so I started talking about economy, jobs, So that's what got him his why.
Right.
And I try and find that angle with everyone. So say you meet a mum or a family person, think of it as from a family point of view, and really start collecting. I believe it's important to start collecting human stories of what's happening now. Talk to all sorts of people. If you're talking to a mum, just be like, yeah, I heard, and this is real in New Zealand. There was that news article of that woman who couldn't see her dad, and he's passed away because of the lockdowns, and how horrible that would have been.
Right.
So talking about family because she's a mum, and just finding that angle with every individual person just to raise that curiosity. And I believe everyone will have their own pace of their journey and what's happening, whether you're the journey to red pill, I would say. Mm-hmm. But it's also about being respectful, because it's the stages of trauma. Because the first stage, if you've got someone that's completely blue pill, the first stage they're going to do is just completely, shove you away, because that's the natural response if they're at that spectrum. So it's finding that, where are they in the stages of grief? Where are they in terms of the spectrum, and finding and collecting those human stories.
Yeah, it's about gauging, reflecting, giving positive feedback, and I don't think people go out of their way to mislead people. I don't think people try to, create fear in other people. I think it's at a higher level where that happens, where it's a level of, it's like just higher level above. And people need to remember that we're on the ground. We're the ones, we're the economy. We're the ones that contribute to the infrastructure. We're the ones that keep this clock oiled and ticking every day, right? So the people up top need to figure something out, whether this is an economic, spiritual, whatever takeover they want to call it. Something's going to have to give over time. And we're going to have to keep people in check. We have to keep close to our families. We have to keep close to our loved ones. We have to even, and I'm not talking about I like someone's picture on Facebook. No, give somebody a call. No. Stay in touch with people.
Well, exactly. On Friday, I told you about how I had a mental breakdown and I had to recenter myself. I basically told work, I said, hey, I messaged my boss and I said, hey, I'm not coming in today. It's just due to stress. And he actually said, the first thing he said was, if you've got any flu-like symptoms, make sure you get tested. And I don't believe in the test because, so that was his first thing. And I said to him, look, it's not any flu symptoms. It's just stress. He then corners me and says, oh, talk to this internal sort of psychiatrist team or something. We call it, mental health kind of line. And they're like, oh, the first session is free. And I was like, I don't feel comfortable talking to a stranger and all that sort of stuff. So do you know what I did next to kind of recenter myself?
What?
I rang up my nan. I rang up my brother, and after speaking to family, I rang up a good friend as well. And I just said to them up front, I said, hey, I messaged them first, say, hey, I'm not feeling too well today. It'd be great to hear from you, blah, 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 blah. And because they're family, it was really nice to reconnect with them. And what I found with my family members is, so I've got a stepdad. And so my nan was saying, oh, make sure you speak to your stepdad because he's been reading a lot of the news, and he's a very economy-driven guy, right? He's been a lot of the news. How are we going to get out of all this debt? And what I realized is, and I've spoken to other people, I'm not alone. I'm not alone in how I'm feeling. So after that day, it was really great. I was just sitting at the park and, having a bite, and I was like, after reconnecting with the people I love, I was ready to fight, ready to fight again. And that's why I kept talking about recenter, get ready for the marathon. I've heard a lot of the previous calls. There's obviously a lot of mental health issues going on. And I've in the news and some chatter around my inner circles, I've unfortunately heard of some people we've lost to suicide. The government doesn't want to release those numbers.
Suicide, yeah. Those numbers are going up.
Yes, but it's interesting how the government doesn't want to release those numbers and be in it for longer, because there was a good interview sort of activist who approached one of the national main two parties coming up. So, the main two parties we have in the October election. And he was basically saying, this is from a top politician running for parliament, oh, yeah, no, get ready for these extensions for another 2 or 3 years. And I'm like, yep, this is going to be a marathon. And it's like the carrot in the end of the stick. They keep like promising, oh, the lockdowns are going to end soon. But I personally believe they don't, because look at, for example, the war on terror.
They're looking at pushing it for 24 months in Australia and in Victoria.
Yep, that is true. And I wouldn't be surprised in New Zealand. I reckon it's going to be 2 or 3 years, maybe more. But look at the war on terror. What was that all about? They promised that was going to be temporary measures. There was going to be increased surveillance because they didn't want, the war on terror.
Right.
And that was in what, 2001, September 11, when that happened, and things like that.
Yeah.
And where are we now? We're in 20 years later. Continued surveillance. In fact, increased surveillance with all.
That's
the
what the Patriot Act was
up
signed into. That was the Patriot Act that was signed into law in 2011 September 11. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, and those rights are being removed. And New Zealand quickly passed the COVID Act of 2020.
What, they have a COVID Act in New Zealand?
COVID Act 2020. Look it up. Jacinda passed that law just recently. I would say within the last few weeks. Do you think that's going away anytime soon?
Not when it's in favor of the government.
Let me get you think that for a moment.
Yeah, well, not when it's in favor of governing, because this is going to allow them to lay in more instillments and more You know what I'm saying, right? More layers and more this and more that.
I'm not a lawyer, but do you know my perspective about law? Do you know what I think about law? Have you seen the animation Rugrats?
Yes, like many years ago.
Okay. You know the bully Angelica?
Yeah.
So she's a little bit older than all the babies, and she likes to be a bit of a control freak. She's, likes things her way.
Right.
I think of law as like the world is full of Angelicas, full of bullies.
Yes.
And we have not progressed from the kindergarten politics. We have not progressed from that. Law is a way to influence another human being to act a certain way. It's basically another person trying to trump their way of thinking to another, and I think that's what law is. And especially since the 90s, we've got a lot of lobbyists and things like that passing law now. And it's never in favor of us. It's always in favor of the rich enriching themselves even further.
Yeah.
And I believe that's all law is. So all these things, right, these are just human thoughts. These are just human constructs.
Mm-hmm.
Laws are not passed by gods. It's not an act of God. These are just human constructs.
Human borders.
Yeah, exactly.
Human borders. Borders.
Thinking of borders, for example, countries. You don't see a line on the ground when you go from one country to another.
You do in Europe.
Is drawn there by God. Oh, okay, yeah.
In Europe, you do have
walls
lines saying like Portugal, Spain,
Oh,
and
really?
they have like a little sign on both sides, and there's a line. Yeah, there are
who
lines.
drew that line?
Yeah.
Who drew that line? Was it a god? Was it a human?
No, it was a human. It's still imaginary, though.
Exactly.
Still imaginary line.
But see, money is imaginary. The freedom is a construct. The thought of freedom, countries, borders. These are all just constructs. Mm-hmm. But what we got to be careful is this new normal. That will be the new constructs.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. And that's what the Raven talked about, the new normal. And that's what Stephen Williams talked about, the new normal. And everyone's saying, this could be the new normal. Hand to God, I hope this doesn't, you know what I'm saying? Okay, Ralphie.
So you know me, I've called in a few times. I'm all about problem solution. But I just wanted to quickly talk about, and I do agree, I'm going to call in at future shows and take it in parts. But I just wanted to end with a positive and remind everyone that we are all in this together, in this human story. So start collecting your human stories. I believe if you're going to protest or things like that, don't be a martyr. Make sure you film it. Make sure there are others watching what's happening so that you can inspire other hearts, so that if you need to rest, there are others there to carry the baton. And I think we need to be ready for this marathon.
Okay. That's a good one. So that's a good perspective to put this
everyone,
in.
Take care of your mental health, please, everyone, and God be with you and all that sort of jazz.
All right, Ralphie, God bless you, and thanks for coming on.
Love
Adios,
your show.
amigo.
Keep listening. Thank you. Bye.
All right, guys, that is our man, Ralphie. I can still see him on the side screen. Have a good night, Ralphie. Stay out of jail, eh? If you go down to a protest, film it for us, okay?
Yeah, check out my show.
Yeah, Ralphie, New Zealand. Well, I'm gonna put up. I'm gonna put a link. I'm gonna go to his channel right now. Thank you, Ralphie. Peace. So there's Ralphie in New Zealand giving us an update. We have people on the ground in every English-speaking country. So let's find Ralphie Co. He's got a good channel, actually. He's got some pretty good stuff. He did have a mental breakdown on Friday, and it's Sunday there now, so hopefully he's doing okay. Here he goes. It's Ralphie. Everyone should subscribe to each other on here. Like, we're all together. Like, we're all connected here. So let's just subscribe to each other on here and get this show rolling. There he is. Look, Mike Martins and Ralphie, the September Cliff. Hopefully I could get Martin North on the show to discuss the September Cliff on trends in the housing market on Wednesday. All right. Guys, I haven't done a channel plug in ages, so let's do this here, guys. Hopefully. Guys, I want to thank everyone with the super chats. I got 2 super chats tonight for $7. I want to thank everyone that sent us super chats. That should be enough gas money to get me to the grocery store. And I ain't complaining, and I'm grateful. We got... Hold on a sec, guys. Hold on. Everybody hold your horses here. Everyone wants to call in tonight. Hold on. So here it is. Article scan. All right. So we got, what do we got here? Mike in the Night, upcoming show. Next week's show, Mike in the Night, unknowingly trapped inside. And no, we're not talking about gender. We're talking about trapped inside as in lockups. Oh, Christ. Lockups. Guys, I will call you, okay? Just give me a second here. So if you guys, this is next week. This is next week's show, Mike in the Night, guys. Don't forget to set your reminders. I'm going to have to set my notifications off here. I'm getting too many Skype notifications at the same time. And it's just too many at the same time, like 13 at a time every other minute. All right, guys, so that's that right there. Guys, don't forget to buy something on Teespring if you guys want a mug, a sticker. We have the Merit Stalker mask. The channel here, link is on top of the channel. Also, I want to thank Facebook for telling me I am not a credible person. My Facebook fan page, oh, I went down to 0 again. 0 kilobytes. Come on! My $200 a month internet. Every time I get 200 people watching, my $200 a month internet wants to go down. I know people that are paying $40 for internet, and it's better than this garbage that I'm getting for $200 from Shaw Cable. Garbage. Lag, yeah. So Bill Porter saying, Mike, the Vinny Eastwood show live streamed the Freedom. Oh, it looks like I'm back offline again. Yeah. But the thing is, YouTube needs to be allocating bandwidth to more important channels. So it looks like somebody's on there making an announcement somewhere on YouTube, and it's taking up most of their bandwidth. So the Raven saying, we are getting arguments at work with each other. It's truly dividing us. All right. Hopefully my internet comes back on. All right. So here's the channel. I have 115,000 people that follow me on my Facebook fan page. But because I'm not credible enough, they, whoa, Anthony Ruvalacaba sent me another $3. I have $10 in, and he sent me $5 too. See, Anthony's always good for a fin. Okay, so there is my Facebook page. If you want to, actually, if you're on Facebook, actually fan my page to piss them off. Because they have people with 2,000 followers as public figures that nobody even knows. And guys, here is my Instagram. If you guys want to send me show tips on Instagram, please send me show tips on Instagram. Sorry guys, I don't know what the heck is going on. Bill Porter says, Mike, you are not a credible person. You are an incredible person. Thank you, Billy Porter. Guys, refresh your thing. They're trying to get me angry here, but I'm not going to get angry tonight. It is Mike of the Night with the People of the Night. Whoa ho ho ho. People of the Night. So grateful to have everyone on tonight. Oh yeah, People of the Night. All right. I'm just trying to get this all set back up. I keep getting taken down. So guys, don't forget to follow me on Instagram. Jada Mills, don't forget to check him out. I told him I was going to plug him tonight. The Lost Canuck, yes, he's here. He has a channel. People keep messaging me all week long. Where's the Lost Canuck? Where is he? There he is. There's his channel, The Lost Canuck. So if you guys are looking for him, there he is. He's got a couple of videos he put up a few days ago. And don't forget to check out Ralphie Co. New Zealand. Ralphie's channel is growing nicely right now. We got Maneko64. Hopefully I could get him back on. We could do on Mike in the Night. We could have a 1 hour sit down with him. I got a lot of questions to ask him, on his visions there on gold and silver and stuff like that. And I'm going to have to fix this, man. And then T-Square Talk. Don't forget to check out T-Square. Really good guy. I'm checking out his channel. I haven't talked to him in a while, but I'm going to give him a call. And again, Ralphie Co. New Zealand. I got him on twice. 2 plugs for Ralphie tonight. Woo! All right. Let's see if we can get Supreme Cannon on really quick before his internet dies.
Miguel.
Hey, Simo, ¿cómo estás, carnal?
So far so good. So far,
Okay,
so
we're
good.
back
How
down
about
again.
you?
We're down to 0 kilobytes again. Just let's see if we can get this back on.
Okay.
No,
Yeah,
you're with
depending
me.
on-
We're talking. We're just people could probably still hear us, but they can't see anything. They're gonna have to refresh. But
all right. We'll see how long mine holds out too. It's been giving me trouble this evening.
Yeah, it's probably the smoke in the air is affecting the internet signal.
I
I'm being
wouldn't
sarcastic.
rule it
I'm
out.
being sarcastic.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Apparently, the West Coast major export now is vaporized trees. They're just uploading them to the cloud right now.
Yeah, they're uploading them to the cloud. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
So, okay, what's your take on this whole Victoria's going, they're extending it for another 2 weeks. Could this go on forever?
No, it couldn't go on forever. I mean, it's like they say about markets. They can remain irrational longer than you can remain solvent.
Mm-hmm.
These are a lot of people, I think, that are, they've got some power in their hands, and they don't want to let go of it.
Mm-hmm.
This is their moment in the sun. Yes, I understand that there's more sinister agendas at work and the rest of it, but everything down from the very top is the same bureaucratic inanity that we've been dealing with for thousands of years.
Yeah.
So I think in this case, that's what it is. There's no real sound reason anymore to have any lockdowns at all. If you're at risk, wear a mask or wear a real respirator. Wear something that will actually stop the virus. Beyond that, no, it's time to open up.
Yeah. So it's
there's
like
no
like what you said earlier is in layman's terms it would be same poop, different pile.
Yeah, pretty much. We shouldn't be really shocked by this. I mean, we kind of expected we'd have wartime conditions with a global emergency like we've had, contrived or otherwise. I mean, if the world wars were contrived global emergencies, how would this be different?
Right.
I mean, for the all of us conspiracy mavens out there, of which I consider myself one, right? But it still comes down to they're printing an unbelievable amount of money to try to keep people at home, to try to prevent the banks from imploding, from mortgage deferrals and default and things like that. It's a real house of cards. I mean, we thought we topped the roller coaster last spring, and here we go. Like whatever is going to happen now, it's going to accelerate, no question about it. But it's still a matter of, until we actually completely open the economy, we don't know what the damage is. It's too much. It's too soon to tell, which sounds terrible considering this has been going on for 6 friggin' months. But I think the curve was flattened a long time ago. This is just silly now. I think part of the reason they're keeping it this way is because they're trying to, get some of their own agenda items passed. Well, this contrived emergency, okay, and also they don't want to know what's going to happen when they open up the gates too.
Your friend JT is going to be sitting on some throne room or some throne, what do you call it, in big discussion in the next couple of weeks. He's going to be discussing I have the article there about our energy bills are going to go up, and this carbon crap that we've been talking about on the show for the last 3 years. They're actually going to move forward with it, and they're going to say percentage points are going to increase in the double digits for homes, small businesses, and families.
Well, of course they are. We have a carbon-based economy. Remember last year when we were doing the predictions for this year, and we had no idea what COVID-19 was or any of that garbage? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at the time we were talking about the carbon tax, I see it as GST 2.0. Okay, these people are in trouble. We're running minimum $350 billion deficit this year. And it's probably going to be more like $500 billion when the smoke clears. I mean, they're openly talking about UBI now.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up after.
We'll get to that, sure. It's which is madness. It's suicide. But I don't think they have a choice. If you were going to let things correct to the level where things would be affordable again, it would collapse. I mean, it would be a domino collapse of the whole global banking system. They can't do that. They absolutely would have their heads on pikes if that happened. So they're going to do everything before they do the right thing. I think we'll see that stuff. But the carbon tax itself, right now, yeah, GST 2.0. They're using this global, quote unquote, global climate emergency as a pretext to grab more wealth, to funnel more money, and
hold on.
But they need it.
Supreme, let me interject here a bit. 20 years ago in the Nevada and New Mexico area, people were all up in excitement about solar. Let's go solar. Let's harvest solar. Let's get solar going. Blah blah blah. Solar, solar, solar. It's the thing to be. Let's go off grid. Blah 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 blah. And then now, 10 years later, after the whole solar thing, in some states and even counties in Nevada and other states, they're making it illegal to have solar panels now.
Well, they don't want you going off the grid. They monitor you with that grid.
Right.
You know, what use do you have for smart meters if you can just get your own independent power sources to power your own home? How are they going to monitor you then? They don't want that. The whole thing is they don't want to give up the control they have, and BC Hydro, at least in BC, is a crown corporation. You know, it's a for-profit, crown-owned monopoly. Mm-hmm. You can, if you're far enough off the grid that it would be expensive for you, yeah, you can get solar power, and you can even make your meter run backwards. Like, they'll buy the excess power from you, the excess that you're creating during the day, that kind of a thing. If everyone was doing it, I don't think so. To me, it's a contrived emergency. It's what was I'm trying to remember what it was called, but it was back in the early 60s when they were talking about how would you create the kind of emergency like a global war so that you could centralize control. Mm-hmm. Some of you know a hidden mountain or stone mountain or something like that. Someone will know anyway. This kind of global climate thing it's about control. It's not about lowering your heating bills. It's not about helping you thrive or saving the planet or anything like that. They don't care about that. It's just control.
Now, here's why I brought that whole solar thing up. I was thinking.
I went way off topic. Sorry.
No. I was thinking. I'm going to tell you why I brought this up. Because I was thinking of just getting 15, 16, 18 grand, throwing up a bunch of solar panels, and getting an electric water heater, and say to hell with all this, right? Mm. And what's to stop my municipality or my town, because my town's the greatest town, they like to pass laws on the spot here. So what if they say, well, you're going to have to pay a service fee to us regardless if you're not hooked up to hydro or something? Then what's the point? Like, they're always going to get us. So that's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah, it's only going to change when enough people have suffered enough. Mm-hmm. That's all. And right now people are suffering. Well, it's for the good of the planet, right? Because people don't take care of their own lives. They don't look after their own communities, their own freaking families. They always have to be concerned about something else going on in quote unquote the world.
Yeah.
How can I sleep when there's global warming? How can I be happy and enjoy my children when the freaking Rothschilds are out there wanting to eat them? Well,
I love
even
China.
If those things were true, it ain't today and it probably won't be tomorrow. Right. And you take preparations for those things to make yourself a hard target. I hammer on all that all the time. You know, the only thing, if I disagree with any of your other callers, it's only in a matter of degree, mm-hmm. and maybe timing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Where the solar is concerned, I looked into my place up north while I was up there because I thought, well, that might save me some money. And I do get a fair amount of sunshine being up on the Caribou Plateau. But in order to put a full panel on the south side of my roof, it was going to, and they only have a 30-year life. And it wasn't going to save me any money. The amount of money I would save pretty much evened itself out. They last 30 years and 30 years of hydro payments at my current level, even there, it wouldn't have balanced. Like, hydro is still cheaper than solar in most cases. That's why we use it. I mean, markets would determine that you'd find something else.
Okay, UBI. Let's get on UBI. Universal basic income. Other civilizations over time have tried this. I mean, it's kind of like a glorified form of, I wouldn't say slavery because a lot of people won't be doing anything, but production goes down. GDP, obviously the GDP is always going to be fake. They're always going to run numbers that are going to make the country look good on a global, But when it gets down to the ground with people on the ground, us, then you see what I mean. Things start to change real quick once you start asking the perspective from the guy on the ground. So UBI, what's the deal with UBI? Could it work, or is it instant suicide?
Anywhere it's been tried, they've canceled it like shortly. No, it's a dumb idea. The reason I say it's a dumb idea is because half of the people in Canada are already below federal tax level anyway, right? So why are you going to transfer from ultimately the middle class? Because the corporations, they just write it off for taxes, or they just raise their prices. They pass it on to the consumer. So it's the middle class that ultimately bears the brunt of it, because you're the only ones actually producing any wealth. Okay, like actual wealth, not just financial instruments. And it's being transferred to people that are already under the taxable amount, right? So you're taking it to the people who don't work, can't work, don't have any skills, whatever the case may be,
right?
And you're giving the money to them to spend. So I would say invest in tobacco and liquor companies, things like that. I don't think it's ultimately, the idea is it puts a floor under everybody's income. For people that live in those built-up areas paying those unbelievable mortgages, well, basically the government is saying, we'll make your mortgage payments for you.
Right.
So where housing and that is concerned, it won't help the pricing and the rent situation, because it'll put a floor under that. And ultimately, I think that's what it's all about. I don't seriously believe for a moment that this is going to help anybody.
Right.
They're not doing it to help people. It's to take wealth and transfer it to somebody else.
Create equality.
Well, it creates equality of misery.
Yes.
Right. But ultimately, what do you wind up? You wind up with a 0.1% with all the power and the wealth and all the guns like you had in the Soviet Union, and everybody else on the bottom. And there was still a hierarchy. And it's not like people didn't figure out how to thrive in that environment once the mass murders finally slowed down and stopped. But it was pretty obvious that there was no possibility that it was ever going to grow, in any meaningful way. Mm-hmm. And you're not going to sell a lot of people like that. Most people want to run their own lives, and they want to build their own lives. And the ones who want security, a lot of them want security because they don't really want to work that hard.
Anthony D's got a good point.
I don't blame them, but okay, go ahead.
He's just saying here, it's cheaper to pay people to stop them from committing crimes and house them in jails. Well,
sad to say, I think it would be. In a lot of cases, it would be better. But what they need to do, they should do what they should have been doing from the beginning. On the outskirts of town, you build low-cost housing. You build housing that people can actually afford to rent, right? And just beef up the public transit so they can go into town if they're going to go work in town.
Alan Holwick put up a good point. What is going to stop people from moving to Canada to collect UBI?
Well, that's another good question. Are they finally going to put border controls on? You can't have a welfare state in a country with open borders. You can't sustain it. People point to, especially in Canada, Canadian Liberals love to point to Sweden and Norway and Finland and all these places. Those are still mostly ethnically homogenous places, and they're small countries. This is an enormous country with a small population.
We could fit a lot of people in this country.
We could fit a lot of people in this country.
We could fit
as long as
the entire Earth's population in Newfoundland.
Oh, easily. You could fit the world's population into Texas, and they'd each have like an acre or two of land apiece.
Yeah.
The Earth is not overpopulated. It's just like everything else. The wealth is heavily unevenly distributed. There's a lot of empty, fertile land in this world that is not under any kind of cultivation because there's nobody there.
Right.
Like it's not. It just seems overpopulated because most people live in built-up urban areas, and they're looking at the same schmucks every day. The same lemmings going to and fro, and it's easy to believe that, my God, the world is we're just stacked on top of each other. It's Anthony, UBI is modern monetary theory. Yeah, they've got no choice. They're painted into the corner. There's no choice now. Even if this was something they hadn't planned, yeah, they have to go there. Now, UBI might be defeated. It might be it might not go through, because remember that
in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, that's going to be the top of the discussion on. They're calling it like some discussion. The government, I guess, the Canadian government's going to stand up and do a speech or something in about 2 weeks. I forgot what the speech is called. Let me pull it up here real quick.
Sure.
There's a name for it. He's going to be talking carbon tax is going to be on the agenda, and the UBI will be on the agenda, and it's something he's going to be discussing on God. I don't know what it's called. Does anyone know what it's called? It's called you know how the American president has every other quarter he's got to stand up and do something and then discuss something, and then
is it like a throne speech?
Exactly, a throne speech. That's
Okay,
exactly what it
okay.
is. So throne speech is going to be in about 3 weeks. I'm looking here through the article to see when it is, and they're going to be discussing how are they going to get the carbon footprint to reach net zero emissions by 2050? And they're also going to talk about the carbon tax in double-digit percentage points. And they're going to be talking about the UBI distribution and UBI, what income levels will support are allowed for UBI income.
Yeah, I tell you what I think is going to happen, Mike, just because of the situation the world's in today. Yeah, I think there's some that they're going to make their big play to try to bring us all the way over the edge into full socialism. But the thing is if they're going to transition Canada from a carbon economy to a zero emissions economy in 30 years, I would recommend any of my friends in Western Ontario to set up firewood businesses, because you're going to be hauling a lot of it into downtown Toronto. It's going to look like the Soviet Union. You're just going to have these big, ugly, slummy cities where people are hauling firewood downtown to burn in their third floor apartment.
And if
It's
you
a
thought
stupid
homeless
idea.
people pushing shopping carts were around was bad, wait till this kicks in.
Oh, they'll be fighting over the shopping carts. Yeah, that's my shopping at cart. They'll just blow them up. No, it will absolutely destroy. It'll destroy all kinds of things. The only way you're going to prevent inflation is you're going to have to institute some kind of rationing system. So it's Sovietism through the back door. And I don't doubt there's people in the prime minister's office that just have wet dreams about that sort of thing. But we're looking right at them. Right, and you reach a certain point in time where you're going to have some provincial premier that, other than Quebec, that will actually invoke the notwithstanding clause and basically tell them to go screw themselves. Yeah. Welfare is essentially a form of UBI. That's true, Anthony. Yeah. It's all the same.
Let me ask you something. Is in your opinion, why and okay. First question, is the government losing its sense of equilibrium?
I don't. Well, that's relative, isn't it? I mean, you've got the Liberals, and they've had obviously a pretty solid electoral base for generations. Okay, it doesn't mean they're in power all the time, but they're usually in power in regions of the country, somewhere or the other. Okay. As long as at least the perceived benefits, not necessarily real benefits, but the perceived benefits are considered better than the alternative by the people that live in that area, then the Liberals have stability. The only thing they care about is electoral stability. They're politicians. Actually running the country for the interest of all the people in the country is about third or fourth down the list. It's okay, how do we get elected and how do we stay elected? That's just how it is. It's just how it is. But it reaches a point where they can't deliver those benefits anymore. And you got a lot of fat and happy people that have been living just fine, very happily on that system for decades. And when it starts to dry up, politics is going to get a lot more radical. There will be an actual center-right party in Canada again, not this nonsense that we have now.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you think, like, I mean, it's a tough question, but what would the landscape look like? And I'm not talking about primrose and gardens, but what would the economic and the cities, what would things look like if Canada's economy, if they were to reach net zero emissions by 2050? I mean, would everything be solar? Would everybody be wearing solar caps to power their phones? Would, like, what would, like, I mean, if they want net zero emissions by 2050, Canada's got all the minerals, Canada's got the water, Canada's got everything. I mean, they're going to sell it out to China, but
Sure.
what
We've got lots, though.
what would a net zero emissions country look like?
Well, that's a good question. The solar and wind that we have now isn't going to do it. Any kind of nuclear supplement isn't going to do it. I mean, we're not in danger of running out of oil, but the cheap, easy oil has pretty much been exploited forever.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So instead of using the energy of 1 barrel of oil to harvest like 16 from the ground, now 1 barrel of oil will get you like 3. So we're reaching an energy cliff. They're not completely, I mean, they're selling it as saving the planet, but the reality is our economy and our ability to generate deficits and all this stuff also depends on cheap energy, and the cheap energy is starting to disappear. The energy will be abundant, but it won't be cheap. So they do have to transition to something else regardless. But I think
Zero? That's not going to fly.
If we had a net, I don't think so. If we had a net zero emission economy, we're going to have to be like the Soviet Union. They used to have to dedicate 30% of their annual GDP to their military machine. Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to have to dedicate 30% of our spending and our energy use to building the grid to go off fossil fuels.
Right.
Right. So we're talking about a permanently lower level of economic activity in this country. You're basically talking about communism. You're going to have rationing, and they'll build some cheap ramshackle dormitories for people to live in, and they'll have their wash hanging out on it and everything else.
They're going to be converting malls in the future to old folks' homes, and people will be walking through. Yeah, people used to shop in these places before they used to do drone deliveries.
Yeah, well, when the credit card finally goes away as a means of people to live on, then that's what's going to happen. The consumption is going to end.
Right.
Which, for the sake of the planet, is probably not a bad thing when you think about it. But yeah, well, those malls make sense. I mean, they've got prime real estate downtown, lots of entry level and escalators and elevators and things like that.
For old people.
Yeah, they'd be perfect for old people. Nice wide corridors for scooters and what have you. Yeah, I don't think. I'll just wrap up anyway. That point. A zero emission economy is not possible. I mean, the Soviet Union was also a horrible polluter, right? Because in the end, if you don't keep the lights on, especially in a cold place like Canada, and people can't heat their homes, even if democracy collapsed, the powers that be have got to keep the lights on. They're not going to not do it.
Okay.
So no, I don't think it's going to happen anymore.
Of course it's not. It's a pipe dream. It's a liberal pipe dream. Okay, now let's get to. Now I want to talk about the ramping up of China, ramping up 5 years worth of oil, food, stockpiling, all kinds of baby formula. There's people in Australia that are mailing baby formula back to China in pallets of them. So. My question, why is China ramping up for 5 years? What are they preparing for? I mean, what was that Bible story? You're going to have 7 years of famine and 7 years of good, of prosperity, right? Remember that?
Well, China, instead of being the manufacturing workshop of the world, is now becoming an international pariah. So I think they're just preparing. They need certain raw materials in order to sustain...
China.
Regular economic production, and they need resources strategic resources in case of war. Now, and things like that. I mean, even just to suspend.
But why
even
5
just to
years?
Their own population. 5 years? Well, it's a communist system. They work in 5-year increments usually. Every communist country, at least that I'm aware of, worked on a 5-year plan. They just set targets in their central planning departments, and then they. And then they moved on. I mean, the Chinese central bank, I would not be surprised to prop up their financial system, is going to do the same thing as Japan has done, as Europe is doing, and as you've seen happen in the U.S. and probably in Canada. They're going to start buying up these debts. They're going to wind up becoming the primary holder of the note on all of these mortgage properties.
Oh, for sure. And another thing that they're doing is they're actually stockpiling tons of gold.
Yeah, they've been stockpiling gold for 5 or 6 years at least. I think
So has Russia.
Yeah, so has Russia. Well, those are Russia, I think, is the largest gold producer in the world, or South Africa. I mean, here in Canada, we have a small population. We have a lot of gold. We don't have any in the central bank, but we could fix that quickly. Obviously, it would be a crash program, but if they put a floor under the price and made it worthwhile for miners to actually start extracting it in larger numbers, we could stockpile a lot if we needed to. Right, even in the ground, it's considered deep storage. You know, the way the Americans twist their words, right? So as long as you've proved through geology that it's there, then it's just a matter of, okay, what will it cost to extract it? And
Fractional reserve pre-extraction gold's 100 times value.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it's if we went back to metallic currencies, yeah, the economic face of the world would change, and there would be some countries that would be very wealthy overnight, and a lot of countries that would be suddenly very poor overnight until they resolve that issue. But no, every country in the world has a certain amount of gold, except ours. But we've got lots of it in the crust. We don't really.
Yeah, but China owns a majority of those mines now. They bought them in the last 6 months.
Oh, we could fix that. Because
but I think our great leader will never betray China.
Our great leader would never betray China, but the U.S.'s great leader could put pressure on him and change some things.
Real quick in a heartbeat.
I don't know. Yeah, real quick in a heartbeat. Yeah, I mean, in the end, we depend on the U.S. and they're right next door. And let's face it, you know, M1's rolling over the Friendship Bridge would change some things in a hurry. It's I think they're going to try to save the old system as it is, but it's working less and less because it's just reached a point where people, even the more spend-happy ones, simply can't afford to finance more debt. And this is the thing about a UBI system. I don't think ultimately it'd be permanent because in order to run the kind of deficits they'd need to do, then they got to sell Canadian treasuries on the open market.
It's
and
like I keep saying.
So many buyers.
Everyone keeps saying, hey, why don't you just add more fuel to that ship so you can go to planets further? Well, it gets to a point where you're carrying fuel to carry fuel, and that's what they're doing. They're taking out debt to pay more debt, and it's now become useless. It doesn't make any sense anymore.
Yes, exactly. You can't ultimately pay debt with debt. You can, you can use your American Express to make your minimum visa payments. You can buy yourself time. Doing that, and that's all this is about. It's buying time. They've been buying time really since the year 2000. You know, I mean, you get these contrived stock market spikes that look like, okay, prosperity is returned and everyone's working.
And housing's going through the roof in Canada.
Housing's going through the roof in Canada, but nobody's getting paid more. Wages aren't going up. In fact, they're being suppressed, you know, and so the general sense or hope of prosperity was already pretty much waning after 2008, and now that we've had this nonsense, you know, there are a lot of people out there that are borderline suicidal. They're desperate. You know, like it's going to be white hot anger out there. So yeah, shoveling some money out to the crowd is going to mollify them for a while. But I've saw on Twitter today there was people in Toronto and in Ontario that had put out ads, you know, with jobs, positions ready to go and not paying bad, and they've got fewer applicants than they've ever gotten because everyone's sitting at home on the Justin Bucks.
Justin Bucks.
On the Justin Bucks, right? My buddy Justin and Justin Castro. And if he wants to keep this up and make it permanent, yeah, he's going to have a permanent voting base. But we're going to wind up like the Institutional Revolutionary Party in Mexico. Yeah, they'll be in charge for 80 years, but the place will be a cartel-ridden hellhole. Right? And in a case like that, yeah, you'll see Alberta and Saskatchewan and probably parts of probably the eastern half of British Columbia just break off and say, screw this, we're not doing it. Yeah, because with this comes crime. It's not just financial debauchery. It turns into moral debauchery, and it turns into people who want to produce and get ahead in life being unable to do it, and you're watching the same clowns who are unable that you're unable to do anything, and the system treats them the way that WWE refs treat guys with illegal holds. Like, why are you not doing anything about this guy, right? I mean, we've been watching that for 50 years.
Yeah, Mr. Fuji.
And right now, and the corruption in Ottawa. I mean, we're looking right at them, and they're just disregarding us. They don't care about it.
Well, let me bring something up on this debt cloud that we're in, and I think a lot of it had to do with the banking system in America, because America was the biggest consumer going back to the turn of the century of the 20th century, right? Mm-hmm. William Howard Taft, before Woodrow Wilson was approached. William Howard Taft was the president of the United States from 1909 to 1913. And he was actually approached about creating a foreign entity bank in America. Mm-hmm. And he turned it down. He heard about it. They discussed it. They had private meetings about it. He turned it down. Woodrow Wilson was approached and thought it was a good idea at first, but wanted to say no to it. And what happened was he had to go along with it after. He actually knew, especially when Woodrow Wilson was on his deathbed, he said he sold out the Americans. And then Warren G. Harding came into power in 1921 to 1923, and he was against the whole Federal Reserve Act and wanted a change. And he had a short administration for 3 years. And then he was followed by Calvin Coolidge from 1923 to 1929, also who had an issue with the Federal Reserve, right? And federal and the foreign entity of the bank, and the banks weren't doing fractional reserve lending not until 1971-72, right? Mm-hmm. Right. So then you had Roosevelt that came in, and then you had Truman. And then you had Eisenhower. And if you remember Eisenhower's speech on his last day as president,
talking about the military-industrial complex.
Oh, yeah. And how it is basically going to be, leaving the common man behind, or the common man will be basically, like, technology will leave us behind. Well, he was saying that the military-industrial complex will leave us behind, or leave the rest of the world behind, in a way, was kind of metaphoric the way he was saying it. And then you had John Fitzgerald Kennedy from 1961 to 63, who was against the Fed. And then you had Lyndon B. Johnson, who was right after him, and he was pro-Fed. Okay?
Yes.
He was pro-Fed, he was pro this and that. And then it wasn't until Richard Milhouse Nixon took administration in 1969 to 1974. And when he took administration, he put the work in. He actually put, because the Lyndon B. Johnson administration didn't really understand how to take the country off the proper gold standard until the it took time until the Richard Nixon administration to come into place. And in 71, 72, they've went to fractional reserve and based economy. And then Gerald Ford was against it in 74. Jimmy Carter was against it. Ronald Reagan was kind of on both sides. Bush was for it. Bill Clinton was for it. George W. Bush was for it. Barack Obama was for it. Pretty much until Donald Trump, he's kind of on the fence. But if you notice that a majority of presidents in the time, like in that early turn of the century, were all against this crap. Because they had souls, they had morals. They felt that they were betraying their people. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, and the other thing, and the thing about that too is every president that's been elected since 1913 has had to deal with this, right?
Yeah.
But you have the usual political maneuvering too, because if you try to explain fractional reserve banking to a lot of politicians today, really in any democracy, they have no clue what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. They don't know. They're not financial experts, right? They defer that to other people. And if they are, well, they're obviously more informed than I am, and they're more informed than most people, but they're just fine with the system. If the system like that is regulated and it has adequate reserves and the money is priced by the free market rather than being set by a central bank, it can work for a long, long time. It's the problem is that since the 60s we've had an institutionalized deficit spending, right, to buy votes. Basically, Trudeau's Justin's dad started buying, World War II veteran votes with Generation X money. And that's been going on, and that accelerates too. I mean, the math ultimately doesn't check out, and everybody knows that. But if you can get elected and you get power, and that's ultimately what you want is power, that stuff kind of looks after itself. It doesn't matter to you. You eat every day. You got a house in the Laurentians, or you got a cottage on somewhere out of town. You're not that concerned about it.
You know what that reminds me of? What you just said. It reminds me of those people that are on those talk shows like The View and stuff. And what's that weird lady with that weird lady that's on she has her own show and she tries to give people advice. They're not in the same financial constructs we're in, and they're trying to tell us
not
how.
At all.
Huh?
No, not at all.
Like Rachel Maddow was telling people how to live and this and that. You're not in the same financial structure as 99% of Americans, or 95% of Americans are in. You know what I'm saying, right?
But the thing is that. Yeah, they don't know that. Remember when we were talking about this before, and I said I used the term urban turbine mounds, right? These bubbles. Yeah, well, they kind of, or your last week that, the San Francisco progressive who, we're a little more sophisticated down here, and he's spending most of the time inhaling his own flatulence. Well, that's what happens. They don't know. They have no clue. They don't understand why everyone doesn't think like they do. It's just Dunning-Kruger writ large. Like they think everyone that doesn't agree with them is an idiot.
Yeah.
And that they
the
always
same financial
win.
construct. You know what I'm saying? And one person, like one president, I think, and I brought him up many times on the show, that really made a difference in America was Andrew Jackson. Okay, in 1835, his administration was full blown. Let's get rid of the Fed. And he finally succeeded in 1836 to 37. He finally succeeded in killing the Fed.
Yeah, that was the second Bank of the United States. There had already been one in the beginning of the Republic, so they'd already had the second Bank in the United States, and someone tried to assassinate him too.
Yes,
and the pistols didn't fire, so Jackson took his walking stick and beat the guy pretty much just about to death. But that's the thing about Andrew Jackson. He was an actual killer. He was a soldier. He actually killed people.
He had a rifle in his cane or something, or built in.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but he could fight with the thing anyway. No, he was a stone cold killer. I mean, that's the kind of guy you need that's going to pull something like that off. But I mean, the surveillance network in those days is not anything like it is now. So I think. If you look at Washington and you look at the cabal, as it were, the people who instituted all of this through murder and intrigue and bribery and intimidation and the rest of it, okay, I think of it like that Germanwings plane 4 or 5 years ago where the pilot went up to go to the bathroom and then the co-pilot locked the cockpit door and set the plane on a controlled descent and flew it into a mountain while they were beating on the door trying to get back in. That ultimately, I think, is what's happening in Washington right now. I think someone has seized the levers of power. I'm not going to say it's Trump. Obviously, he's not acting alone. No. But I maintain that there is a war going on among the elites. Because if he's one of them, why the hell would you need to do this? If they really control every government in the world, this would have been over 75 years ago. It's not that easy to take over the world. It's a pretty fractious place. And even if you have established parties in power in every country, there's always hungry challengers.
Yeah, there's always the wolf climbing the hill is hungrier than the wolf on top of the hill.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Syria is a good example. Syria was one of those 7 countries that was going to get taken out in 5 years by the Project for a New American Century. And
that was what's his face brought that up, and that was circulating on social media forever. We're gonna have to take out Syria, Iraq, Iran, this, and the guy says,
"Yeah,
why are we doing this for?" And the guy goes, "I don't know."
Yeah, that's just the plan. That was Wesley Clark.
Yes, that's right.
That was the NATO commander. Yeah. I mean, they failed. didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
You saw what they did to Libya. Well, they tried to do the same thing to Syria. I mean, you had the Pentagon, you had the CIA, you had all these different groups. I think Qatar or Bahrain wrote a check for like $5 billion to. I mean, did you notice all the new Toyotas? This brand new Islamo-fascist super state called ISIS set up, right? Like, didn't
and
it seem like it was
AK-47s and all kinds
That's
of
right.
MAC-10s right out of the box?
Yeah. Well, Putin might be a globalist, Layla, but he's still in it for himself. I don't think he's a friend of the same people. When you say globalist, it just ultimately every leader of a huge nation like America or Russia or maybe the head of the EU or something like that is a globalist. They want an empire. They all want an empire. They don't necessarily. They're not all buddies. They hate each other.
Did you know?
It's not that simple. And anyway, Bashar Assad, is still the president of Syria, and near as I can tell, the Qataris are still not building that natural gas pipeline through to southern Europe to undercut the Russian monopoly. And I don't think Genie Energy is building tanker ports in Haifa.
Nope.
To load all that oil supposedly in the Golan. It's not that simple.
There's a lot of black market oil going through, like right now.
Yes, there is. There always is.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question. I think that there are American troops or some kind of joint troops sitting in Syria's oil areas right now, and it looks like they intend to keep that. So it's not like Syria has bounced back and they've had this economic miracle like the Germans had after World War II.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong. I'm sure that Syria is hurt and bleeding.
Right.
But it's still an intact country. It hasn't been divided into a bunch of little squabbling puppets.
Which they wanted to.
Which they wanted. And
they wanted it for Vietnam, and Vietnam is still a whole country.
Yeah.
They wanted South and North so the United States could have a better foothold in the Southeast Asia, and with South Vietnam and South Korea and Taiwan and other parts, they could have a good foothold in Asia, right? But they couldn't hold South Vietnam.
They couldn't hold South Vietnam. I mean, to the public, it was sold as part of as an outpost of the Cold War, the war on communism. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
And to the CIA, it was to provide security for the Golden Triangle, where all the opium was coming out of the country to send it to the States.
Right.
And then, but to the North Vietnamese, it was a civil war, and they were trying to reunify the country.
Mm-hmm.
So you had all kind, and in the South Vietnam, they just didn't want to be communists. I don't know if they really believed that much, but they certainly didn't fight as hard as the North did.
Right.
The North, in the end, was more motivated, and they were more consistently supported by the communists. U.S. put troops on the ground, yes, and like the Tet Offensive in 1968, they slaughtered the Viet Cong, and they beat the live and tar out of the North Vietnamese army, but it did upset the political cycle, and President Johnson did step down.
Mm-hmm. That's
correct. And Nixon came in on a peace platform. So it's not that which, when you think about it,
well, Nixon needed to come in
globalist charge of everything.
Well, because since Ulysses S. Grant was offered endless amounts of acreage, money, and gold to get a foreign bank in the country, and Ulysses S. Grant refused it. So there was all these presidents that came in succession that refused the foreign bank until the handlers put in Richard Nixon. His platform obviously was peace, but his platform was also to destabilize and decentralize the dollar.
Yeah, that's right. That's true, Layla. Yeah, there was the Marshall Plan. It's not like Germany rebuilt itself. That's true. Just going on that. Part of the problem they had in America was they had an enormous crash in 1907.
Right.
Because after the 1906 San Francisco earthquake, practically all the liquid money in the country, all that metallic-based currency, went flooding to the West Coast, and it caused a financial crisis on the East Coast. So that was part of the reason why a central bank was being floated, because you'd have regions, which you have now. You have Fed districts, and they would set the interest rates in that particular region, so that you could kind of stabilize where the money was in the country without it sloshing from one end to the other like water in the bathtub. Okay?
That's right.
But the 19 the 1929 crash, there were people that believed it could work. Yeah, not everyone that works at the Federal Reserve, goes to Bohemian Grove every year.
Right.
Right. Like, yeah, okay. The initial agenda was sinister, no doubt about it. But it was supposed to bring prosperity to the people. Right. The problem is with most people is before the Federal Reserve, they seem to understand the hazards of getting away from a metallic backed currency like you had in the States, like constitutional money. But, nobody seems to understand that anymore. Right. Like, but even with just a fiat currency,
but they
you
wanted
think people would be taking steps to protect themselves, and they just don't.
Yeah.
And it happened then too. But that's the problem. There was too much speculation.
Well, it goes back to people not negotiating for themselves anymore. So they're not wise with their money, or they're not wise with their savings, or they're not wise with their savings institution, right? So they want to put these places in place, like the feds, because the banks, make mistakes and stuff. But, I mean, somewhere down the line, people are going to have to start renegotiating for themselves, because we're at a point right now where people they just, okay, no questions asked here, okie dokie. It's like, and they've been pushing for this foreign entity for centuries in America,
Yeah.
And they got it, and now we're at its, like, I think it's at a point now where it's like, where do we go from here now? It's like, how do we, like, look at the debt clock. What do we do?
Yeah. Well, the simplest and most practical thing to do, okay, for yourself as an individual, okay, is you have to function as your own central bank. And what that means is you've got to hold a certain number of reserves in something other than debt-based money, right? That means gold, that means silver, it means platinum, okay, the precious metals, obviously. If you're a crypto maven, okay, and you know a lot about it, okay, so you're not speculating, but you understand it, I would say get involved in crypto. And above all, get out of debt.
Mm-hmm.
Just focus on getting out of debt. There's good debt and there's bad debt. Most people are holding bad debt, and they need to get out of it, like now, like yesterday. If people still had the kind of financial savvy that they had back then, the central bank wouldn't be able to do much to you. But there's a lot of people now that live their lives in ignorance,
mm-hmm.
right? And in the end, you some of them are your family and your friends, right? And you're not going to wake them up.
No.
So what do? Well, then you increase the multiplier effect in your own life. You live that way. So when everything goes bluey and they need help, you're able to. It's not just about, I'm going to get rich when gold goes to 50 grand, because if gold goes to 50 grand, my God, what's the world going to look like? It's going to be a wild place, baby. I'll tell you what. But it's still a matter of, you've got to be the person standing on the bank to help as many people as you can out of the river as they're getting swept by.
Right.
It's not just about you. It's about the people around you. It's about your neighbors and your friends and your family. That gives you peace of mind. And it doesn't take that much, right? You just got to have a plan. Run your own life, like your own micro state. You got money coming in and you got money going out, and you got to run at a surplus.
Run your own economy. Don't go into debt. Yeah. Maybe keep one of those apps in your phone to track what you're spending, and maybe you're spending too much on certain things that you shouldn't be. And be wise, be smart. Our forefathers, grandfathers, and parents, especially my dad, he was very wise with his money, right? And there's nothing wrong with being smart about things, and you don't have to have every phone that comes out. Like, I finally bought myself a new phone, but I bought a phone, I don't know, like 5 years ago was the last time I had a phone, and I need my phone to make videos and stuff,
Yes.
So
yes.
I'm not getting a new phone every 6 months or a year,
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Supreme, we're rolling into our third hour.
Okay. Yeah, guys, it's I'll just wrap up here. Guys, the bankers are responsible for a lot, but they work in tag team with governments. Obviously, they also work in tag team with advertising. Right? There's a lot of bright lights and big noises and shiny objects that have really cast a spell over people. 2/3 of those container ships on the open ocean wouldn't exist right? Without credit cards and home equity loans and all of these things where people get this lust in their eyes to go after the latest and greatest gadget. Okay, and a lot of them, they're not doing that well, and that's kind of a medication for them. So the big thing is you got to kick the debt drug, and you got to kick all of the other drugs, all of the other dopamine rewarding devices that they give you. It's easier said than done. Okay, but just keep it to the ones that are going to at least not knock you off of sound financial footing. Because the thing about bankers, it's a manipulation of money, which ultimately is a measure of your time and your labor and your toil and your sweat and your blood, right? And when they devalue that, they're devaluing you, right? So you have to individually, personally, take the war to them, right? You've got to pull those feeding tubes out of your neck like the Matrix.
Right.
You got to say, screw you people. I'm not going to let you rob me anymore. I am not going down without a fight. You've got a family depending on you, most of you, right? And you don't have time to I'm sorry. I wish things were easier, but sometimes it's just you got to be stronger.
Right.
You got to be better. These are hard times for a lot of people. Right? Even people with lots of money in the bank, they're hard times because of the moral breakdown that's been created by all of this. They've woven these debt-fueled illusions over our head like the Fremont Street experience. And where that's concerned, you gotta bring that thing crashing down yourself. You're not living under illusions like the people around you. You're that one-eyed man in the kingdom of the blind. Okay, and so you're the one who's been chosen by destiny to lead as many as you can to safety when it does go bluey. Right. That's your mission. You can do what you want. I wish you all the best. Love you all. We don't disagree on very much, and even the things we do. Hey, I want the best for you. But yeah, it's time to get right. If they institute a universal basic income, at a certain point in time, inflation is going to arrive, and it's going to come flooding on shore like a tsunami. So build yourself a friggin' submarine, or a surfboard, or both. Right? It's coming, but it's going to be an exciting time too if you're ready. It's still an opportunity.
There is pullbacks.
Yeah, they're not going to get rid of the financial markets. This stuff is a drug to these bankers and these finance people. You think they're going to let their favorite drug get washed away? I assure you, there's no politician anywhere in the world who's interested in that. It's not going to happen. Okay, but you see the illusion for what it is. So play to win. Just do things the way bankers do it. Just steal their weapons for yourself, and you're automatically
reuse the CIA's technology on them.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't worry so much about it. Oh, they're monitoring your phone calls. There's billions of phone calls every hour in the world. Who cares? Are you saying anything particularly bad? Like, they don't care about you. That's good news.
Yeah, that's good
news. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, my friend, it's
been an hour, buddy.
It's been an hour. Well, it's great to chat, Mike, and it's great to interact with all of you. Thank you, and just stay strong. Yeah. Rejoice. You've got information that a large part of people in the world don't have. How is that not an advantage for you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We could stock trade on our phones. We have so much at our fingertips that we should start taking advantage of some of this stuff.
Absolutely, and that is something too that you might have a third show here pretty soon, like how to play this, right? Or at least references to links where other people are talking about it. It's not all doom and gloom. No, a lot of people in the world living large right now in the middle of this. They're not a problem at all. The 3 months I was off work, I wasn't worried about anything. I had savings, I had no debt. And I found out I qualified for the Justin Bucks, and that was a wash. This year hasn't been bad for me. It hasn't been bad. It hasn't been a disaster for a lot of people.
Right.
It's like God stopped the world so that you could catch a breath. I hope you took advantage of it.
All right, Supremo.
So, yeah.
Have a good night, guys. Brother. God bless you.
Mike. God bless everyone. Talk soon.
Yeah. Talk soon. That is Supreme Cannon on Mike in the Night. You know what time it is, folks? Next week, hopefully we can get Lord Humongous on. Maybe we can get Anthony Rubalacaba. Layla's got a major announcement to make next week.
night, you're here with Mike in the night. Let's just talk about the world. Give this page another turn, 'cause you're here with us tonight. Everything's alright when you're here with Mike in the night.
Mike in the night, baby. People of the
Mike
night.
is through the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Giving the world light when you're here with Mike in the night. Mike in through the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Sometimes things are just absurd, so let's just talk about the world, 'cause you're here with us tonight. Mike in through the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Mike in through the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Let's just talk about the world. Give this page another curl, 'cause you're here with us tonight.
People of the night, from Mike in the Nights, please take care. And if you can't take care, please stay safe.